It's Victory Monday. Welcome into the hall. Let's talk about it. Everyone should be excited. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Halas Hall Hangover. This is the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast. I got Brandon Duplessis, Kyle Duplessis, and Dustin Crafty D Jones in the house. What's going on, fellas? Everyone's got to be smiling and have a super smile on their face after what we witnessed in Lambeau Field yesterday. Come on, let's see that smile, boys.
Super Bears, super smile. What up, everybody? Everybody in the chat, please keep it coming tonight. We love having you here. Thank you for being here. Bears Victory Monday. I am excited. Plank is in here. What up?
I'm through a half a bucket of chicken already, guys.
Now, is that honey or is that buffalo?
This is buffalo, baby, all day.
Right.
I've been eating spicy chicken all day long, man.
You're going to have a rough night. What's up, Plank?
I waited 11 weeks for this, man.
Bruce.
If there's one team I would have wanted the Bears to beat in the final game of that meaningless season, it's the Packers. Any other game, I would have prayed that the Bears bench Caleb Williams and just lose it, but
it was worth losing 10 games in a row to beat the Packers.
It's good, yeah. But it's all the same, guys. It's a feel-good win. It's good. It's redemption for Cairo Santos, redemption for Richard Hightower. What it's not, though, guys, is meaningful.
Yeah, the
Packers are in the playoffs. The Bears aren't. So
the old Dave
Caleb looked really happy. So
he did. You see him right after he made that pass to DJ Moore up the middle. He gave that little fist pump. Dude, he was so excited, man. You know what? For me, honestly, Caleb got to write his first chapter in what's hopefully going to be a storied career for the Chicago Bears at Lambeau Field yesterday, down 1 with 54 seconds to go. And he was able to, I mean, after he ran, he shuffled out twice to the right. They got that horse collar. And
that was huge.
That was so huge.
There was so many plays in that game that had such a big impact. That's why I want to talk about this game a little more. But as meaningless as it was, that game.
Caleb drove him down 47 yards.
Yeah, it wasn't meaningless to It wasn't meaningless to their players. I could tell you that. I mean, in terms of playoff or seeding, yeah.
Every time I looked, I'd step away for a second to grab something to eat or something. I'd come back and there was like a crazy fumble or some kind of play. It's like literally every fucking 5 plays, it felt like something crazy happened in that game. Guys, that Byard sack.
Yeah, he lit.
Hold on. Are you talking about this?
It's strange because he's going to come from the right side. The tight end pushes him. Now, that shows me that there should have been a running back there. There should have been something. Or was the tight end wrong in that protection?
I literally just ripped that off my TV before we got on the air.
Perfect form. Perfect form.
That was insane. Like the way
you got to give Malik Willis for some credit for.
The way his neck responded to that was uncomfortable to watch. So
do we all agree? Hit of the year for the Bears.
Yeah,
hit of the year for the Bears.
No doubt about it. 100%.
It was definitely the most impactful. It changed that game.
He had a free run. He was not touched in.
And the Jalen Johnson peanut punch, dude. I mean,
right?
It was just a really fun game. It really was.
Here.
And the Packers lost their best receiver for the season in a game that didn't count. You know what I mean? Like.
And here, I'll tell you.
I mean, they counted, man. They can improve their seating, so it does.
If you go on to Philly, let's be honest, guys. Los Angeles, that makes a difference.
Jordan Love could have returned. I think they were just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, he definitely would have played if it was a game that actually mattered. If they won or lost, Jordan Love would have been in that game.
Here, you know what's great about it? It was the coldest game of the year, coldest game of Caleb Williams' career,
and Jordan Love's career.
It got a little Bearsy at the end there. It was a little Bearsy throughout, but really Bearsy.
Reception was pretty Bearsy.
Daryl Johnston didn't help because he literally goes, Bears fans got to be holding their breath of how they're going to lose this game as he's saying it. What happens? DJ Moore
fumbles the football. Caleb was really pissed after that. Caleb was pissed off. They were trying to collect him on the sidelines, and he didn't want to hear nothing.
Yeah, him and Joseph were having it.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is this not football 101? You have the ball. They ran that bubble screen that they were running there again for what, the 5th or 6th time in that game. Now, you're up 1st and 20. You're up. You have the lead. You're running the ball, trying to take away their timeouts, see where you end up. Why throw a bubble screen and risk a turnover like this? Just another coaching blunder that made it so Bearsy. Well, it's a run play.
It's a pretty safe throw. It's the safest throw you could make. DJ Moore is a guy you
no throw is safe in the NFL, bro.
It's the safest throw.
It wasn't an interception, though. A fumble.
Yeah, they completed the pass, and the screen is a good way to move the ball. Listen, the Bears' biggest issue on those, from what I've seen all season, is that their receivers can't block on those.
Yeah,
they just let guys run right by them.
You got to stop running them. If you have receivers that can't block, you got to stop running.
Here, I will tell you guys, if you go back and watch that,
bad blocker.
I just watched this game before we came on the air, and after that hit, that was a helmet to the hand on DJ Moore, and if you look at him back on the sideline, his fingers are busted open. They were bleeding. So
yeah, he got hit right on the football, right on the head.
That's why you don't make that.
I'm not making excuses. I'm a Bears fan and I'm biased, but I mean, I don't think that by the NFL's definition, he did not make a football move. He did not make a football move.
Yeah, I was wondering was he even catch? That was my thing. Was like, did he even catch that damn ball?
That should have been an incomplete pass. Whatever. It worked out the way it did. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and DJ Moore made the play to win the game too. So
DJ Moore made multiple plays to win the game.
That touchdown was huge, but that catch he made to put him in field goal range, I did not think they were going to spike the ball with enough time. And that was my biggest concern. They were this close, man. They were this close.
Yeah, now you go think back to that Detroit game and the end, how they handled the clock management at the end of that game, and you see what could have been if Matt Eberflus,
if they had a plan in place before they made the play.
Yes. Any semblance of a brain in his head at all. It could have been the same outcome in Detroit, and the Bears fumbled.
Except for they even had a timeout in Detroit.
You know what?
And they had more time.
You know what, too?
But yeah, Dustin's right. I think they expected it 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
I was like, oh, please, not again, man. Come on.
They said that was not the design play, that Caleb actually picked up on the defense and switched the play and threw that ball up the middle.
He's gotten them into trouble doing that, man, but he is also progressing at that.
They wanted him to go to the sidelines. Yes, that's what I read as well. And then he saw something in the defense and signaled that to DJ Moore, and they made that play, and they were able to get up on the ball and spike it with just enough time. And Santos was able to come through this time. And it was and you just hold your breath that whole time, man. Where did you guys watch the game? Where did you guys watch the game? What were you guys doing for the game?
I was at home.
Nope. I went out with my dad and his buddies. We were at a pizza restaurant bar. I mean, it was cool because everybody in the building was like still rooting for the Bears, regardless of what's happened throughout the season. And that's what's just great about football, man. Like, that game didn't mean anything, but the Bears, as soon as the game started, I texted you guys, the Bears are playing hard. And you can see the difference between how they played last week against Seattle at home versus how they played this week in Lambeau. They came to play this week.
Well, their defense played hard.
That made a huge difference.
Played really hard against Seattle too.
The team did not show up ready to play the way that they did yesterday.
Allowing 6 points and no touchdowns in the NFL that's nothing to hang your.
I was really happy to see a lot of teams that were already eliminated beat teams that were playing for something. Guys, the Carolina Panthers won a game.
Yeah,
they didn't need to play, and
overtime.
The Jets beat the Dolphins. They didn't have to go out there and play a football game. You know what I mean? So it was cool to see some of these guys
the Saints
taking
put up
pride again and just getting rid of somebody else's playoff.
The Saints Buccaneers game was real close down to the wire. Baker Mayfield made a hell of a play to get that touchdown to Bucky Irving. That was crazy.
It's good to see these guys be competitive to try to eliminate other teams from the playoffs.
You know, I wanted to touch on what that thing that Plank said, that it was important to us. I will tell you, and you know, we've all been down on Ryan Poles a lot, and maybe some of us don't want him to continue as the GM of the Bears, but I kind of feel as if this team came out, it meant something to Caleb Williams. It meant something to every one of the 52 players on that roster, and I think they played for Ryan Poles. I don't have any knowledge or anything to back that up, but I kind of just feel like, hey man, my job could be on the line here. And maybe there was some conversation had, because that was a different Bears team yesterday. And I just want to say, as a Chicago Bears fan, I'm very proud of that 52-man roster and that coaching staff. I don't care that the rest of the weeks were bad. I'm very happy they came out yesterday, and that's what they left us to chew on over the next 8 months before we get ready for 2020.
Is our roster missing somebody, Sean?
No,
it's 53-man roster. Yeah.
Or 53-man roster, sorry.
An emergency quarterback. So
yeah, it was Nate Davis. That's all right.
I don't know if you guys watched my solo show on CSP, but I think the theme of the show was, should the Bears fans embrace the tank? And I said, I don't think the Bears, first of all, I don't think they're good enough to tank. Second of all, I think the Bears should do whatever they can to win the last 2 games of the season, specifically against the division rival Green Bay Packers at the end of the season, because you want to give these players, I mean, first of all, losing takes a toll on these players emotionally, mentally. Eventually they get sick of it and they don't play the same. I mean, that win was huge for the Bears mentality, specifically Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, all the young guys on this
guys that are going to still be here.
Yeah, and the guys that are so used to winning in college and then coming to the NFL and experiencing something completely different, and probably the most dysfunctional organization in all of sports, at the Chicago Bears, to beat their division rivals like that at the end of the season. And, I don't care. People are like, oh, Malik Willis was starting, and I don't care. It didn't mean anything. It didn't change the Bears' feelings in any way, shape, or form that Malik Willis was the starting quarterback in the game. That was the happiest I've seen Caleb Williams since he joined the Chicago Bears.
He no doubt about it. He didn't start. We knocked Jordan Love's ass out of that bitch.
Yeah, and Malik Willis has won some football games. Malik Willis could very easily have beaten this Bears team.
He won 3 games, and this is the oldest rivalry in football, guys. This is the oldest rivalry in the NFL. The Bears better have came to play, and they did. We expected them to.
And guys,
I didn't expect them to win, man. So I'm pleasantly surprised today. I'm happy that they showed up to actually play for something. Like you said, whether they're going to be on the Bears next year or they're going to be on another team. You got to put something good on film. You got to show that you haven't quit, because this team did look like it quit for multiple weeks in a row. Multiple. Like they
guys,
were
can a division rival have a worse end to a playoff-bound season?
Hey,
honest to God.
Hold on, listen to this. That too.
Matt LaFleur said before this game, when asked if he's playing for the 6th seed, he said, no, I don't care about seeding. I want my team to show me they can play a clean game start to finish. He lost his number 1 wide receiver in this football game. They had 4 fumbles, and they didn't even try to locate the punt that was returned for a touchdown.
What's funny is that nobody located the punt. The whole talking point beforehand was that how much the defensive coordinator for the Packers was pushing his guys to get turnovers so they could be the number 1 team with the turnovers this season. And the Bears flipped that right on them, and the Bears were the team that was taking the ball.
Well, and then they're pointing. Then they got the camera on the Packers special teams coach because they had a bad snap on a punt earlier in the game that they were fortunate didn't get blocked. And they're like, yeah, he's giving it to him over there. Like he's expecting more. The Bears Blackwell's taking it back to the house. It was like, I don't know what Hightower did, guys, because the Bears 6 weeks ago lost against this team on special teams. But the special teams had a hell of a football game.
Well, he said why he did it. He said he watched the old Bears-Packers games in Lambeau, and he Bears-Packers games, and he remembers the game where they did the same exact thing with Devin Hester, and I think it was Johnny Knox, actually.
Dave Toll, baby. Dave Toll, baby.
And Richard Hightower said he's going to give it a try.
That play got them rolling.
You know what this game means? I think this game matters most to me, specifically in terms of Caleb Williams in particular. It's because of the fact that, I mean, first of all, if you look at Caleb Williams, he plays his best in the 4th quarter and against division rivals. I think you could make an argument that his best games this season, besides tomato cans like Jacksonville, Carolina, were against his division rivals, excluding that one Minnesota game in Minnesota. Caleb Williams shows up when it matters most. I mean, the Bears should have been 2-0 against the Packers this season, and I would have been happier if they finished 2-15 and beat the Packers twice than their 5 wins, because we'd have a better draft pick. But
the Bears could have easily been
playing like that against the Packers, especially in late situations like that. I mean, he got the Bears in a position to kick a field goal and win the game last game against the Packers at home, and the Packers blocked it. That's not going to happen very often. That's not Caleb Williams' fault. You can't blame him for that. I mean, Caleb Williams is 100% the quarterback of the future of the Chicago Bears, and he looks like he's going to be a pretty damn quarterback for a long time.
Well, guys,
Santos' celebration after that kick was fucking awesome. Santos started running around.
Think about how good that felt for him after
exactly.
blocked.
They said that was his soccer celebration.
Let me something. Do you guys, Sean and I were talking about this earlier. You see Thomas Brown gave all the players those cards. Did you see Kevin Byard after the sack? He was holding up like that note card and it had something written on it.
Okay.
It was
gave him like some kind of credit card.
Finish strong or compete or what. I don't know what it said on. I was just wondering if they haven't talked about that at all. I was wondering if anybody knew what that whole thing was about. I don't know. It was kind of cool of Thomas Brown to do that for the last game of the season. Like, hey,
maybe it was Thomas Brown's phone number. He was like, call me.
Call me if you're looking for a coach.
And a testament to Thomas Brown, guys, is we had a game-winning drive that resulted in winning a game. Because that's just something that doesn't have the Bears. Caleb can do everything he needs to do to get the Bears in position to win a football game, and it ain't happening. And that happened under Thomas Brown.
Finish.
Well,
nice.
Thanks, Shorty. What up? Thanks for joining us,
man. Thanks for joining the show,
guys. Everybody hit that like button.
Kevin Byard
hit that
finished
subscribe
that
if you haven't already.
Speaking
Kevin Byard certainly finished that play. When he destroyed Malik.
The Bears were finishing plays, guys. I want to ask you guys: is
Tremaine or TJ?
And I don't want to get this too off the rails, but just give me your thoughts on Tyreek Stevenson. Is he a hit or is he a miss? Or is he still let's get a new coaching staff and find out?
Sean, you know where I stand on this. I mean, first of all, Tyreek Stevenson was playing well until the Washington game. You know, he played well in the Washington game besides the penalty and then the Hail Mary that he was obviously did not have his head in the game in that play. But I'd like to know, when you talk about guys like Tyreek Stevenson, Tremaine Edmonds, these guys who had down seasons, how much of that is Tremaine Edmonds and Tyreek Stevenson? And we can go through a list because there's more of them than that. And how much of this is just the Bears coaches don't have the inability for them to develop these players that are being drafted? How can Tremaine Edmonds go from being a good linebacker in the NFL, by all accounts, for at least 3 of his first 4 years in Buffalo, and then coming here and being one of the worst players on the Bears? It just doesn't make sense to me. I think the Bears are just not unlocking these guys. They're not motivating these guys. And like I said, eventually losing and playing for a dysfunctional organization where you think you know more than the people above you, I think eventually, I mean, we've seen it at our own jobs, right, guys? It's unmotivating. It eventually gets to the point where you're like, you know what? I don't really even care anymore. So how much of it is Tyreek Stevenson's lack of ability or his lack of skill set, or how much of it is Tyreek Stevenson just not caring about this team? That remains to be seen to me. I wouldn't give up on the kid just yet. I'd give him one more year, one more shot.
This is going to be an unpopular opinion because I'm really never this guy. Dave Wanstedt mentioned it before the season started. I don't like doing this. Teams do it, but Tyreek Stevenson, to me, man, plays like a safety in the NFL. He makes plays. He comes in strong. He hits hard. He's aggressive. He's physical. He can't keep up with good receivers. I think I think he could, if Brisker didn't work out, I would consider that. I really strongly would consider. Stevenson is a baller. Sure, he is right here. He is. He makes plays. But he's also ranked 140th guys in pass coverage of all corners that have played this year. I mean, that's or 132nd or something like that. Not good enough. It's not. So and you can draft some. Here's the misfortune for Stevenson is you can get better at the position. That's what sucks for Stevenson. And that's why we're even having this conversation.
Not with Terrell Smith.
No, but you can. You can get better at that. If you have another lockdown guy across from Jalen Johnson, guys, you could be the best secondary in football. If you put the proper guy there.
Brandon, are you saying you would like to keep him, but just switch positions?
I want Stevenson on my field, but yeah, I don't want him as a starting corner on a wideout.
Okay, but then are you replacing Brisker? Are you going to make Stevenson your backup safety? Are you replacing Kevin Byard? Listen, Tyreek Stevenson is a baller. I love Shorty for saying this. I'm a huge fan of Tyreek Stevenson. I am super impressed by how he's played against the run in the second half of this season, really stepping up big time. Like you said, coming in aggressive, Brandon, making big hits. I think he can get better. I think he's a young guy. We want to talk about young guys. Darnell Wright, he's young. These guys need more opportunity, need more reps. Tyreek Stevenson is a ball hawk. He can make plays on the ball. He needs to get better with his technique, and he needs to get better with his mentality towards the game in terms of his focus.
He has 2 interceptions. I don't know.
So get better at backpedaling now.
So he had 4 interceptions last year, Brandon. He can get after the ball. I love Tyreek Stevenson. I think if you're talking about the assets that you have to spend and the positions you need to address, if you're the Chicago Bears, I don't think Tyreek Stevenson is at the top of your list to replace him.
He's not.
I'm keeping Tyreek Stevenson right where he's at, and maybe he'll do a little better in a different defensive scheme than the cover 2. Maybe.
So
Or
Or
he's
just
probably
with a
better
different
and a
coach.
lot
Just with
more
a different
man.
coach. It may not even have to be a different scheme. Maybe he just needs a fire lit under his ass. You
He
never know.
should play man. He'd be a great because we play so much
man
zone.
to man would benefit him.
You see what Kevin O'Connell could do for a guy like Sam Darnold. Maybe there's a coach out there that can do something like that for Tyreek Stevenson. You never know. It's just all situational.
Like I said, I'm not pitching to get rid of Tyreek Stevenson. There's no point in doing that. He was a second round pick a year ago. Like it'd be stupid.
I will say this.
Unless you're looking to trade him. Sorry.
I'm also with you. I'm also with you guys. I think a new coaching staff may do him well. I have liked what I've seen. I just question his mental toughness after not being able to recover after the Washington game and letting the season.
You got to question this whole Bears team's mental toughness after that game.
And you have
that's individual. That's individual.
Tyreek Stevenson
done a lot of things.
Became contagious.
I'm not questioning Caleb Williams
yesterday.
And guys, Tyreek Stevenson it's a personality we're aware of. This is seldom, but it happens in the NFL. Guess what you need for a guy like Tyreek Stevenson? You need a fucking leader of men. Because guys like that will get over on soft ass coaches.
Hey, man.
Then they become a real problem.
You remember Tyreek Stevenson against the Lions getting in Jamison Williams' head, getting that penalty?
Yeah.
Tyreek Stevenson is a dog, too.
2 games.
Yes.
I like
Tyreek Stevenson is a dog. You need that on your team. Man.
Yeah.
He's
I like
mentality
that
you
attitude.
need.
I think that attitude can be used in a very good way.
I agree.
But you got to hone it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Tyreek Stevenson's that capable of controlling himself. So if you have a coach who kicks ass, he can make something good out of that. I really believe.
Brandon, can you imagine if Jalen
Flus was
Carter
not
was on
that
this
guy.
team with Matt Eberflus? If Tyreek Stevenson's doing whatever he wants. Jesus.
I can imagine Jalen Carter wrecking any backfield.
Jalen Carter would be
against.
suspended.
Yeah, I can imagine that. That would be amazing if he was on the Bears.
I don't think
if they
Flus
can't
was
control
the guy-
Tyreek Stevenson, they wouldn't be able to control Jalen Carter.
Guys, real
Neither would
quick.
the offensive line.
If anybody has any information on this, please let me know. I was listening to Mully and Hall this morning, and they said, and I'm only talking about this because we're talking about strong personalities. Joseph and Caleb Williams apparently they were shouting each other's face. So he was asked about it after the game, and he said, this is what Mully said. He said, me and the head coach had a lot of post-game arguments, in the locker room.
We cursed each other out. That was
Yeah.
the exact statement.
So
We
do you
cursed
need
each
a
other
leader
out.
of men to deal with this guy? And I think Caleb's respectful when
You
he
need a
addresses
leader of men
somebody.
for this entire team, man. You need a leader of men to control
Well, and
the entire team.
you need somebody who can control some of these guys. Tyreek Stevenson, man, like I said, it only gets worse if you don't have somebody that can help him.
What up, Dennis?
It'll get worse. What's up, Dennis?
We're gonna get back into this coaching thing, but before we do, I just want to touch on our rookie quarterback. Kind of get your guys' last thoughts as we wrap up 2024.
Let's grade his season. Let's all give him a grade in terms of how he's done.
First of all, let's do the round of applause. Let's do the round of applause for Caleb Williams and his rookie season for the Chicago Bears.
I'll put it on there
because he is severely underrated.
In case he watches this. There you go, Cody. That's for you, buddy. Standing ovation. Hold on.
Caleb finished 242 or 385, 62.8 completion percentage, 3,541 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He added 489 rushing yards. And one of the biggest problems everyone was worried about was fumbles. He only lost 2. Per stat head, Caleb Williams is the only rookie in NFL history to pass for 3,500 yards with 20 passing touchdowns and 6 or fewer interceptions and 400 rushing yards in a season. There are only 4 quarterbacks that have done it ever. He joins Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. 2 of them, obviously, are current MVP candidates. Caleb Williams also finished his rookie season, the first Chicago Bear to throw for 3,500 yards since 2015, the first Bear to start the entire season since 2009, the 7th Bears quarterback to throw for
2009. Since
It's been a while.
2009, the first quarterback to play
Oh,
every
and Sean,
game.
and the
in
guy
this
who's
season.
not an MVP candidate that's also on that list
of them
was in
all.
the Super Bowl.
Sean,
Yeah, Caleb's in good
He
company.
played well.
the
Played very
first
well.
quarterback to play all 17 games of the season and the most sacked quarterback in Bears history.
I missed what you said, Brandon. What'd you say?
And
I missed what you said a second ago. What'd you say?
Oh, you said 2 of those guys on the list, the 3 names on the list that Caleb is on. You said 2 of those guys are MVP candidates.
He was just talking about Jalen Hurts.
And I said, and the guy that isn't also went to a Super Bowl in his second year.
He
So
did.
Caleb's in very good company.
He's in good company, man. Really
He's
quick.
also, by the way, man, only rookie quarterback guys in NFL history to throw over 500 attempts and have single-digit interceptions.
Yeah, he's got a few more here. The first Bears quarterbacks in 65 to throw 20 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions. He has the fifth most passing yards in a single season, most passing yards without a pick in franchise history, most total yards by a quarterback in franchise history. This guy also tied with one guy who you guys wanted as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams finished with 6 interceptions, tied with Jimmy Harbaugh, 1990, for fewest in a season in franchise history. So, do we finally have him? Take it away, boys.
Yes.
Tell me what you think, Dustin. Do we have him?
Go to someone else, please. I'll be there in a second.
Okay. Who Kyle?
Yeah, it's not even a question, Sean. I mean, anybody who doesn't see this by now just doesn't know football. I mean, they've been Bears fans for a very short period of time. I mean, Caleb Williams, not only, like I said, I think the most impressive stat of them all right now is 17 games played. The first time that's happened since 2009 with Jay Cutler. He finished 5th all-time in Bears passing yards at 3,541 yards. He's top 20 all-time with 20 pass touchdowns. He only had 6 interceptions. He was the most sacked quarterback in Bears history. And on top of all of that, he did it with 2 different head coaches and 3 different offensive coordinators. And you want to hear the most impressive stat at all? Here are the top 6 most sacked quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. David Carr was sacked 76 times, threw 9 touchdowns, 15 picks. Randall Cunningham was sacked 72 times, threw 8 touchdowns and 7 picks. Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times, threw 20 touchdowns and only 6 picks. Sam Howell was sacked 65 times, threw 21 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. And Joe Kitna was sacked 63 times, threw 21 touchdowns and 22 interceptions. To make it through all 17 games healthy and only throw 6 picks when you're one of the most rushed quarterbacks in the history of football is absolutely remarkable. I don't think Caleb Williams has even gotten close to unlocking his potential. I think Caleb Williams' ceiling is much higher than we saw this season. I think due in part to the fact that the Bears neglected the offensive line, and the Bears in general are just the laughing stock in the NFL and don't know how to run an organization. I think if Caleb Williams would have been drafted by the Washington Commanders and he would have flipped him and Jane Daniels, I think Caleb Williams would have had some of the best numbers of any quarterback in the NFL this season. I think there's a good chance he would have thrown for 30, 35 touchdowns. Do I think Caleb Williams is the future quarterback for the Chicago Bears? Without any doubt in my mind, in any way, shape, or form, Sean. It's not even a question. He is the least of my worries when it comes to the Bears going into the future. The least of my worries.
Him and Tyreek Stevenson.
I just want to say thanks to Kyle for taking my stats that I said I was going to look up last night. You know, I brought that up last night, Kyle. I told you I was going to come with those stats for the most sacked quarterbacks. Yeah,
let's hear him again.
No, let's not. There's no point in that. Listen, what he did in terms of excelling under the circumstances. I mean, Dennis Mooney brings it up right here, guys. Right? I mean, 3 offensive coordinators, 2 head coaches, the O-line, the run game, the injuries along the O-line, just the overall dysfunction that he overcame to still maintain his professionalism, still maintain his abilities on the field, and still make plays to put them in position to win multiple games that they weren't able to win because the rest of the team did not come through. Like, it's very impressive. I mean, if you're going to compare him and Jaden Daniels clearly had the better season. Jaden Daniels looks like the best quarterback out of this draft, but you also got to consider the context in terms of the coaching staff that he has, the infrastructure that Washington team has compared to the Bears, the plan they had. It just makes a big difference, you know? So Caleb Williams competing and staying productive as he was. I mean, listen, going into the season, I said he was going to throw for 4,000 yards. He got 4,000 yards of total offense. He was damn close to throwing for 4,000 yards. I did not expect him to be sacked 70 times. I didn't expect that. So he still got damn close to those markers that we had in our head. The rest of the team really just didn't come through. And he absorbed all that and still went up to the podium after every game and kept his composure and then went back out and got to work. I mean, we have our guy. We have the guy to build around. Once we get the head coach paired with him and fix this offensive line, the sky's the limit for Caleb Williams, guys.
Brando?
Yeah,
you saved the best for last because we know you love Caleb.
He exceeded my expectations, and I'm sure that a lot of Bears fans there's probably a lot of people that think I have a bias towards him because I have loved him, guys, since his first game in Oklahoma. But I will say this again. I've said it before on this podcast. I think that he is one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL.
Trey?
I think that he has the longest
yes,
leash.
Trey. Correct.
of all of the quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks this year, guys, and there was 6 of them in the first round, I think he has the longest leash because he's the most intelligent. I firmly believe that. I agree with Dustin too. There was no quit in this kid, no matter how much adversity he faced. Sure, he laid down on the bench in a game that he got sacked 9 times. I'm not buying into that stuff. He went to the podium. He had a smile on his face. Guys, at the end of this game, he said to the reporter on field, but by the way, it's like 0 degrees. This guy just wants to go to the damn locker room. He spends like 5 minutes with her, and he says, I've been doing all my homework on the Bears, and I know they haven't won since this year, and it's been this many games since they lost or beat the Packers. And like, this guy's happy to be a Chicago Bear. And he actually said those words definitively. I'm happy to be a Bear, and I want to grow for Chicago. That's what he said. That's awesome, guys.
What's up,
And then you,
Jay?
And I don't want to harp on Justin Fields, but the thing that killed me about Justin Fields, because like I told you guys, that guy did whatever it took to try to win a football game, even if it took him getting his ass kicked. But he just folded in the most important moments of every game. And Caleb Williams played, like Kyle aforementioned, he played his best football, guys, when it mattered the most. And he's a rookie. That has to tell you that kind of poise, that kind of leadership from a guy, one of the youngest players on your team, is leading people in the most pivotal moments of the most important games. That guy, it says that he can only just be better from here. To me, there's 100%. Kyle's right.
Unless the Bears,
we haven't even
shit.
Yeah, we haven't even seen close to what this guy's capable.
Yeah,
I firmly believe that.
I wanted to go back to what Jay, because I was going to wrap this up and say this. I think one of the biggest things for me was his accountability that he took game after game. And he even just did it as recently as a couple of weeks ago, saying, hey, man, my offense, and he knows his offensive line is shit. And he was like, it's not those guys. I have to get better. I mean, his accountability, he is just unbelievable. And I said this last week or the last time we were on, I was not sold on this guy coming out. I thought he had a lot of faults. I thought he was more of a diva. He has proven me wrong on every front. I'm very happy that he's proven me wrong on every front. And I gave him a leash. I didn't say I never wanted him. I did say I would prefer Jane Daniels. Kyle is a witness to that. Maybe I'll be wrong ultimately down the road, but he's impressed me on every freaking level, and I'm happy he's a Chicago Bear for life.
Just as recent as yesterday's post game press conference, he came out and said, "They said, what are you going to do in the offseason?" He said, "Obviously, I didn't work hard enough. I did something wrong because this is not me. I did not meet my potential. I missed too many wide open receivers. I missed too many overthrows. I threw more picks than I'd like to. You threw 6 picks, and he's saying he threw more interceptions than he'd like to. I mean, this guy obviously expects
going to get
perfection.
You know why? He saw Justin Herbert only threw 3. He's got to get down.
Well, Jim Harbaugh, like you said, man, Jim Harbaugh. That's
Sean, more importantly, that interview that you mentioned where he kind of sugarcoated how bad his offensive line was.
Yeah,
because I watched that. I remember what you're talking about. He also immediately followed that up with, a lot of the sacks I take are on me.
Yes,
that's Caleb actually identifying a real problem, because it is.
Yep, that's true.
It's probably his biggest concern.
It is.
My biggest concern about Caleb Williams is he's going to get himself
holding
killed
the ball too long.
if he continues to hold the ball. And he, during that, when he was saying my offensive line is not as bad as you guys think they are, which maybe he meant it honestly, he also took accountability for the sacks. So like, another thing to see in a young quarterback where you're like, there's nothing
guys,
bad about
this. Real quick. This chat is killing it. We just had Joe Dicka join us. Plank's in here giving us great content. PT57, Shorty from Bears Country Podcast. We love y'all. Love your show, man. Trey Shy, Dennis Moody, Bruce Fam. Everybody keep it coming, man. We really appreciate y'all.
Hold on, man. I gotta do this.
Subscribe button.
Thank you guys so much, man.
Yeah.
And then real quick, Sean, your grade on Caleb Williams' rookie season. If you were going to get grade A to F, what are you giving Caleb Williams for this season?
I will probably go around. I'm going to say C+.
Whoa!
I'm going to say C+.
Wow.
I wanted to say B-. I like the interceptions. There was just. I'm going to go B-. I'm going to move it up. I'm going to go B-.
Okay, B-.
B-.
All right. Kyle, what's your grade on Caleb's rookie season, man?
I'm going to go B-, and it has nothing to do with interceptions. The fact that he only threw 6 miracle with how much he was rushed. The reason I'm going to give him a B- is because Caleb admitted himself. You guys, we obviously know from watching Caleb Williams from college that he's capable of making those deep throws. He just missed too many this season. Too many open receivers. He earmailed a couple of guys. That interception, I think it was against Carolina when DJ Moore was wide open in the corner. Those are the things you're going to see Caleb Williams improve on as this NFL starts to slow down for him, the more veteran he becomes. But I mean, there's not many quarterbacks who come into the rookie season and are going to have an A++ grade. So I think this is by far the best rookie quarterback I've ever watched on the Chicago Bears. And I think he's like I said, once again, this is no disrespect to Jane Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May. I think they're all very good quarterbacks, but I still believe from what I watched this season and the situation he was in, that he still has the highest ceiling of all of the guys we've been talking about, all this 2024 draft class. I think he proved it this season by showing that, like Justin, like you said, just to persevere through these circumstances with this team and these coaching firings and all this stuff that went on, he is clearly going to be a very good player in this league for a very long time. But in terms of his rookie season, 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 picks, B-.
Plank says B+. Trey says a C. Dennis gives a B because they didn't win more. Breaking news, Bruce, a B. I love that you guys are chiming in here. Scott Angel gives him a B. All right, Brandon, what's your grade?
Scotty, really quick, Brandon. Scotty Angel, I'm very, very impressed with that grade.
Yeah, he was not a Caleb fan.
Was not a Caleb Williams guy whatsoever. Did not want anything to do with this guy. Love you, Scotty.
I sat next to him at the bar at River Street. Very cool dude. Very cool dude.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Pleasure meeting you, Scott. Yeah. I'm with Plank, guys. I got to grade this on a curve. I'm going to give Caleb an A-. And I agree with Cal. His biggest issue to me was the deep throws, the inaccuracy, and then taking the sacks. But this guy, I agree with you, Kyle. If he's on a team that's running a proper offense with proper coaching, he's probably in the 30 touchdown range, 4,200 yard range. I think if it wasn't Caleb Williams, guys, this Bears team would have looked much, much worse.
Oh yeah.
I think this Bears team was competitive. Because
because
they didn't run the ball well. They weren't running the ball well. So I firmly believe Caleb Williams is what kept this team in these games late. Obviously, their defense was strong in the beginning of the year, but I give him an A-.
PT57 checks in with a B-, and then Philip is in here. What's up, man? Thanks for joining us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. We appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna go with a solid B, man. I just considering, like you said, on a curve, like Plank said, man. Considering what he had to overcome, and like you said, Brandon, how he still kept this team. I mean, competitive is a stretch. They needed to win more, and like you said, Kyle, he needed to. There were some throws that he missed that he should have hit. He held the ball for too long, didn't check it down enough to these running backs, in my opinion. Take what the defense was giving him. Just play within the system. I think that was his biggest issue, trying to make big plays outside of the system versus just playing within the system and taking what's in front of you. If he had done that, I'd probably give him an A, to be quite honest, because to take 70 sacks this season and do what he did, very impressive. I'm giving him a solid B.
Hey, Dustin, and some of those things that you touched on, I thought that he improved on
as the season went
along.
Yeah, I was going to say as well. Yeah, Sean, I was just going to say, he said to that woman on the field, his plan is to grow in the offseason, and that makes total sense because of what you just said. He grew all year, right?
Yeah, and he grew all year. Hey, I got a question for you guys. Remember when he got big broed by CJ Stroud?
Yeah.
Look at that.
CJ Stroud has had an awful season.
No, that's their rookie years, man.
Well, by his standards, he's had
those are actually not the worst. They're like rookie statistics, honestly.
Yeah, he basically had a rookie year and a sophomore year, which is kind of concerning.
Hey, don't big bro me.
Yeah, I will say I
had CJ Stroud on my fantasy team, man. I was not impressed.
I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing that again.
We could talk about CJ Stroud and all the injuries and all that, but I will say, in terms of Caleb Williams, once again, I understand Jaden Daniels had a better season. You could probably even make an argument that Bo Nix had a better season, but I will say, I watched all these guys. Sean, we obviously watch every single game at your house with the 4 TVs you got there. Is great as those guys played, and I'm not taking anything away from what they did because it's uber impressive, especially Jaden Daniels. That guy looks like he's going to be good for a long time. But some of the throws that were made this year by Caleb Williams, even against the Packers on Sunday, that throw to DJ Moore that kind of landed.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I mean that's God-given talent, guys. That's stuff that other guys aren't doing.
Talk about the one on third down where he threw it between two defenders.
Yeah,
right
and it
where
like kind of
DJ Moore
stuck in
couldn't
DJ
get
Moore's
over.
arm, and it looked like he dropped it, and the Packers were convinced he dropped it, but somehow he rolled over and kept
Dude,
that ball.
Caleb brought the magic this season.
Those
he
passes,
brought that with him. That
He's a
USC,
magician for sure.
that
Yeah, he did in the
USC shit
preseason.
we watched, that crazy shit we watched.
Yeah,
the
he did
stuff
in the
that made me believe
preseason.
in this kid. He brought that with him.
He did that to Roma Dunze in the preseason, and he did it to DeAndre Swift on the rolling out to his right.
Guys, we can think back to
Those
50
passes,
plays that you've
that's
never seen
God-given
another
talent.
quarterback do before. I mean, like, this guy is impressing.
And you know what? I agree with somebody in the chat here said that he kind of reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. I agree, man. If I had
Plays
to
like
pick,
his idol, yeah, they say.
if I had to pick one quarterback to compare him to right now, with his kind of like pedestrian runs, but they matter in big moments, and just the way he carries himself, the way he navigates the pocket, and the way he plays football, he does. I think his closest comparison would be Aaron Rodgers when he was healthy.
If he turns
and
out to
young.
be Aaron Rodgers, we're all going to be really happy.
That was Dennis Moody.
Yeah,
that was
I'm
Dennis
gonna
Moody.
I agree with you,
Dennis.
Dennis.
Real quick, because we talked about CJ Stroud, and he did have a down year. He wasn't great this year, guys. He was missing his best receiver for a while, but
two of them.
Bryce Young this year, man. Bryce Young showed me that he can compete. He can compete in the NFL. I think next year.
Bryce Young's had a great sophomore season.
Brandon,
He really recovered from that.
Hey, and can I
Brandon,
before we get into
you're starting an NFL franchise tomorrow. Who do you want, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud?
CJ Stroud, but
after this season, I might go.
Well, Kyle, can I ask you this? Because I feel like, and I'm not asking you, the general people, the general audience that quit on Bryce Young. We watched Sam Darnold, who's been a journeyman for the last fucking 10 years, guys, take a team to 14-2 record and
nice try.
Probably receive an MVP vote or here, one or two, I don't know. Like, play really good football. Bryce Young in the second year of his career, we're writing off.
I'm not writing him off, Brian. What I'm doing is I'm playing the odds. I'm
just not going to trust him.
I'm not asking
for a long time.
Guys, I'm not asking you specifically. Like, a lot of people said Bryce Young sucks. Like, we're like,
I don't believe in a 5'10" quarterback. I don't like Kyler Murray. I don't. There's not a lot of 5'10" quarterbacks I like. I just don't, man. I think it's too tough to play in the NFL.
I don't know. I don't want to get. I was probably.
Yeah, no. Leave it to Brandon to derail the show.
Yeah, he got benched. He came back. He played competitive football. Good for him, dude.
Listen, Philip. I like this comment from Philip.
I don't hate the kid. I don't hate him.
After the new coaching staff is hired, the most important item to address is build both trenches. That's what we're looking forward to here, right? As Bears fans, I mean, you have to rebuild this offensive line basically from scratch. Do you not, Sean? Like, what are we looking at here?
I think you need 5 to 7 new linemen this year. I know that's a lot, but I mean, right now you have Braxton Jones with the ruptured patella tendon. He's out all next year. Really good. You need a left tackle.
On top of that, he's not good. On top of that, he's not very good.
On top of that, you need a new left tackle.
Yes.
Tevin Jenkins has missed what did they say? 16 games in his career, 19 games in his career, and missed 9.
Can't re-sign him. Can't re-sign him.
Well, it depends on the deal.
Who you try? Are you bringing back Coleman Shelton? Are you bringing back Coleman Shelton so you replace 2 guards and a left tackle, but then you find a couple of reserves?
No.
I mean,
I don't want Coleman Shelton back, and I want to cut Ryan Bates.
But here's the deal. But here's the deal. If you can't rebuild everybody on that line, if you can't say in 1 year you have to pick and choose, are you keeping Coleman Shelton rebuilding the guards and keeping the left tackle?
Sean, I believe Ryan Poles would. I think you're right, Sean. I think Ryan Poles would.
What?
If he keeps.
Why can't he rebuild the whole line?
Those players.
Why can't he rebuild the whole line?
Why can't he rebuild the entire offensive line?
With the money they have in free agency and the draft picks they have, why is it not possible to get?
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying that you have to allocate some money to a second defensive rush or a defensive end. You have to allocate some money to a nose tackle or a 3-2.
But what's most important?
You're going to spend all your money on 7 linemen?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you can win games by outshooting people with no defense. You cannot win games if you don't have an offensive line to protect your quarterback. It's not possible. I will say this, though, guys. I've said this before, and everybody kind of forgets about it. And listen, I'm not saying that I love Ryan Poles or he's the greatest GM in history, but Ryan Poles was the director of scouting for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2021, and went from the 2021 to the 2022 season, where they rebuilt the entire offensive line, and that includes all 5 starters replaced from 2020 or I think 2021 to 2022. Or no, it was 2020 to 2021. All 5 players were replaced, and 4 of those guys are still starting for the Kansas City Chiefs. The only one who's not is Kyle Long, and that was only due to injury.
Hey, and I'll tell
you
about
Kyle. I've referenced it multiple times.
Here, I'll tell you this, Kyle.
It could be done.
Yeah,
I don't know. I still don't know that I trust 100% Ryan Poles to get the job done, and that's my personal preference. I have no choice as a Bears fan. I have to sit back and hope because he's not going anywhere.
No control.
I don't blame
So I have to hope that this guy has his head out of his ass and he's figured out after 3 years, you have to build the trenches. Let's see what he does. I'm going to pray and cross my fingers because, like we say, he's got a few months, 4 months to get his story straight. He's got a draft coming up and he's got free agency coming up. You better sharpen up the pencil and get to work because he's got the quarterback. You have the Rolls Royce. Get rid of the fucking Pintos and get some Mercedes-Benz to black this guy.
How he did
trucks, I should
regardless
say.
Kyle, do you have faith in Poles to do that this year? To rebuild this offensive line?
Real quick, Sean, you say that regardless of how he did it, and I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody's mouth because I've been hearing this shit. Ryan Poles is the first GM of the Chicago Bears since 1926 to find a franchise quarterback. Correct? True or false?
I mean, I don't know.
I'll say a franchise quarterback. I'll say a franchise quarterback fell in his lap.
It doesn't. It
didn't fall in his lap. He made the trade that enabled him to be in the position to draft him. It didn't fall in his lap. He actively got
lucky. He got lucky.
He also could.
You got to get lucky. You have to get lucky. But he was actively engaged in getting better.
Yes, and a lot of people were screaming for Justin Fields to be traded the year prior, which would have left him with Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. He decided to retain Justin Fields for that 1 year, give him one more chance because he came out and said, "I liked the 2024 draft class better." So either way, even if he didn't get Caleb Williams and Carolina didn't finish last, he would have ended up with Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, or he has announced himself out of his own mouth his 3rd favorite quarterback in the draft was Bo Nix. He said that. Those were the 3 players you would have gotten at the Carolina.
Those were my 3 favorite quarterbacks.
So do we have faith in Poles to fix this thing this offseason, guys? Do you have faith in Poles to hire the right head coach, make the right moves in free agency, and make these very important draft picks, those 4 picks in the first 3 rounds?
I don't know if this is going to mean anything to anybody, but I've said this to Sean many times, and I'll say this again. Am I like the most confident in the world that Ryan Poles can rebuild this line and make the Bears a playoff team next year? Probably not. But I have more faith in that Ryan Poles can hire the right coach and rebuild this offensive line than I do in firing Ryan Poles, hiring a new GM, to hire a new coach who may not like half this roster, maybe even Caleb Williams. We don't know. Start rebuilding again, getting rid of the guys just like Ryan Poles did with Ryan Pace's team. Get rid of all these guys, bring my guys in. I don't think the Bears are that far off. I think you double down, or you at least give Ryan Poles his last year of his contract. And if he can't fix these issues, then you fire him and go get a new GM.
You have to extend Ryan Poles, man.
Let's play a game of what if.
Convince a coach of this job if Ryan Poles is not under contract. There's no head coach that's going to come in here and not ask you, why is that guy not signed?
Doesn't have to be
for your contract. Do you not have confidence in him, and why should I?
Yeah.
No, you cannot do that for your contract, though, Bernie. It could be a 2-year contract. It could be
Sean,
1
year.
What
are you trying to get at, boss?
Well, I was going to say let's play because it's not even a question anymore because we know we're staying here.
It is what it is. Poles is the guy.
Poles is staying here. But if you had an opportunity, which the Bears don't because they're too stupid and inept of an organization to think about moves like this, but grab a guy like Ray Agnew, who's been integral in rebuilding the Detroit Lions as the assistant general manager and pairing him with Ben Johnson and getting this ship or this train back on the track, you should do that. But the Bears are too stupid to build this thing correctly. And I still think keeping Ryan Poles and forcing him with another coach is a huge mistake that the Bears are making, plain and simple. And I'm not going to change my mind.
Well, you're not forcing anything because he
forcing him. That head coach
will be forcing it.
Whether or not they want to play for the Chicago Bears with Ryan Poles as the GM. Yeah. Ryan Poles is going to choose the head coach.
Yes.
There's no reason that can't be a symbiotic relationship.
But I also think you limit your choices if these guys don't like Ryan Poles. You've really closed the book on your candidates.
That may be true.
Tracks in the building. What up?
But that may be true. But the coach is gonna like Ryan Poles because Ryan Poles is the one hiring him, and he wouldn't hire somebody who doesn't like him.
Sure, but Matt Eberflus like Ryan Poles, guys.
If Ryan Poles is not extended for this search, that will pose a problem for the Bears.
Yeah, that brings things into question. That causes concern for a head coach coming in here. Why are you not confident in him? And again, like I said, why should I be confident in him if you're not? That draws concern.
Yeah, and there's also variables there as well. Like if you fire Ryan Poles, would Ian Cunningham be the GM? Would Kevin Warren be more involved in general manager moves? So like they could basically say, the Bears could basically say, well, Kevin Warren would be acting GM, so he'd still be here with your head coach.
Stay the hell out of it.
I agree, but you know the Bears, Brandon.
But here's my question:
you got to stop this stuff, man. You can't. Your job is your job. You do it and leave the other guy alone. That's what George needs to stay out of your own damn way. Everybody has a job to do on that organization.
You hire the guy to do that job. Let him do that
job. Don't do anything else.
How about you guys,
hey, man, I'm going to come over here. I'm kind of bored over there. I'm going to come over here and start helping.
Have you guys heard anything about GM searches?
Likes
Is anybody trying to interview Ian Cunningham yet? Has anybody heard anything about that? Because he was highly touted for the last couple of years. I don't know if he still is.
He's got the.
I don't know if that's changed.
You know, the thing is for me is I think if Ryan Poles, outside of a couple of picks, if the heart of his drafts would have been a little bit better, maybe there was a sprinkle of talent that would be left over.
Rounder.
Like anything.
The reality is
be a little bit more happy.
Sean,
and
he's overseeing a team that has a 3-win in the last 3 years, 3 wins, 7 wins. And now 5 wins.
Yeah, he's got 15 wins in 3 years in Chicago.
You have to judge him on that. You have to grade him on that.
Hey, really quick, Kyle. He has the worst winning percentage of any GM in Chicago Bears.
Okay, Sean. So let me get this out of my mouth before you. I don't think it's fair for you to be like, "Oh, Caleb Williams fell in his lap because of this trade," but he needs to take all the blame. He needs to take all the blame for the 3-win season when he got here. Did you see this team when he got here? Did you see this shit?
Kyle, he takes the blame for Zach Pickens. He takes the blame for Roshan
Johnson. But you brought up his winning percentage.
Tyler Scott.
Sean, you brought up his winning percentage.
Mail got fired today.
Sean, one at a time, guys.
Sean, is Ryan Poles responsible for is that solely his fault? The 3-win season when he got the rebuilding years.
Kyle, there was a grace period. That grace period is coming to an end.
Yes. I've told you I gave him the first year. I haven't seen much in the next 2 years. I haven't seen improvement. I haven't seen player development.
2024.
I've seen a bunch of people that have come here and gone in drafts that are bust.
But 2024 is the only year where you could hold him accountable for the record because he went from 3 wins to 7 wins in 2 rebuilding years. That's the goal. 2024 is the problem. Don't talk about 2022 and 2023 because that shit doesn't matter.
I'm not giving him a pass in last year in those cheap 7 wins that he got in the quarterbacks and the teams that he beat. Because he beat the worst teams in the freaking league, dude.
Every win every opponent had against the Bears this year was a cheap win. A blocked field goal, a Hail Mary. That's all cheap wins. Who cares?
There's no such thing as a cheap win in the NFL.
7 wins is 7 wins. Listen, 7 wins is 7 wins.
We have to trust. What it boils down to is we have to trust Poles to make the biggest decision in Bears franchise history up to this point, which is choosing our next head coach that's going to develop Caleb Williams into the guy that we all believe he can be. We all just gave him pretty solid grades for his rookie season. We all expect it to get better. It's going to hinge on the head coach. Who are we looking at here, guys?
Dustin, do you think that Ryan Poles – I'm asking this sincerely. Like I want to know your opinion. Do you think that Ryan Poles is going to be – do you think the coaching search is entirely up to him, or do you think it's like Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles?
I think it needs to be entirely up to Ryan Poles if you're going to run your organization the correct way.
Yeah,
this is Philip echoing what Brandon was saying. George McCaskey is my biggest concern. You nailed it. George always gets in his own way. Step the back, and the GM and the coaches run the football operations. Get out of the way. And that's what needs to happen all the way down the line, from top to bottom. Everybody, like Brandon was saying, everybody just needs to be allowed to do the jobs that they were hired and they're being paid to do. That's how you run a successful organization. And if they're doing that, then it can work out. And if Poles is the guy who's responsible for it, and only Poles, then we know where the blame needs to go if it goes wrong, or where the credit needs to go if it goes right. Poles, this decision needs to be on him, and we need to judge him on this. The grace period's over for Poles.
Well, yes, I agree. Dustin, you're correct about that. It's almost impossible, guys, as a Bears fan, to even evaluate anybody in this organization because you don't know who the hell is responsible for what. Guys, we're talking about Poles was given multiple choice when he got hired. Is this the truth? I mean, like, really? Was he
Yeah, we don't know what
Yes,
to believe.
these are your
and what not to
candidates?
believe.
Yes,
Because
that's the
that
truth.
makes a difference
That's
to me.
the truth.
If Poles was given a choice and not an open pool, I have more faith in Poles today than I did yesterday, right?
Dennis Moody.
But if
Yes,
Poles
yes,
did have
I agree.
if Poles is the guy who said
I
Flus
agree.
is the guy of all the guys, then I have a concern for sure.
I got to read
Well,
this
he
comment.
did. He did, Vernon. He did last year. He did. So he does need to take blame for Eberflus because it was his decision to retain him. And from what we've heard, Kevin Warren wanted Matt Eberflus fired. Ryan Poles. So from what I've heard, and this is all hearsay, and who knows if it's true or not, but Ryan Poles wanted to interview Jim Harbaugh. He was told no by Kevin Warren. He was told no, that's not going to happen. Kevin Warren didn't like Matt Eberflus, so Ryan Poles in turn was like, all right, F you, Kevin Warren, then I'm going to keep Matt Eberflus, which wasn't a good move by Ryan Poles. It only made him look foolish. But Bill Polian is the one who was hired for $6 million to narrow the coaching search down to Dan Quinn and Matt Eberflus, and that was not fair to Ryan Poles.
In that too? Wasn't Ernie Acossi in that too?
Dan Quinn would have been the better option. Poles made the wrong decision if he only had two choices. he only had a 50% chance of getting it right.
Yeah, but Dustin, he could have hired somebody better than both of them. I mean, that wasn't fair to him to do that. That's
Dennis
ridiculous.
Moody said something. I just want to say it out loud because it was hilarious. He said, I trust Poles like I trust a stripper telling me she loves me. And then Plank says, Dennis Moody, you mean she doesn't mean it? What the fuck? This whole time. I thought I was in a relationship.
What I will say, let's get into the coaching search in a second here, but in terms of the Chicago Bears offseason, Ryan Poles, what he has at his disposal to improve this roster within one offseason, and he, like Dustin said, his grace period is done. Ryan Poles needs to make the playoffs in 2025. If he doesn't, he's fired. I guarantee you if Ryan Poles finishes with less than 9 wins in 2025, he is fired. There's no doubt about that.
That's the problem that Brent is talking about. You bring in a new head coach.
Oh my God. This is what I've been freaking saying this entire time.
Makes sense.
Listen.
Yes, Sean, go ahead. Say it.
Okay.
Sean, I've been saying the entire time. You're doing it ass backwards again.
But Sean, we already talked about that.
How do they make this decision?
This is what we talked. But this is what we talked about pre-show and what I've been saying for 6 weeks. You guys, he was never going to get fired. The Bears don't fire GMs.
Doesn't mean that it's not the right decision.
Understand that.
I'm not saying it's not the right decision. What I'm saying is there's no point to talking about it because it's not going to change it. Ryan Poles is the general manager of the Chicago Bears. He's hiring the coach, and he's going to do this.
I got the perfect thing for this.
But
you can still ask though. Do you have faith in him? That's all we're asking.
Yeah, well, and that's all we're asking. But again, what you're talking about, Kyle, what you just said, the point Sean's been trying to make is that could impact the Bears' ability to hire the best head coach possible.
Okay, what I'm going to say
is moving on from Poles to make sure that you do get the best head coach possible. I think it is.
What I'm saying is,
Kyle,
if you're looking at a team,
whether or not we can change anything, that's still what we think.
Okay, and what I'm saying is, if you're looking at a team that needs to improve in one offseason, they have to improve the team enough to make the playoffs to save a bunch of jobs, not just Ryan Poles, by the way. Kevin Warren should be fired as well if the Bears don't make the playoffs next year because he's had a lot to do with all – what?
That's not happening. The stadium's in the process of getting
done.
Yeah,
there's no chance in hell he's getting fired. No chance in hell he's getting fired. He's buddy with George McCaskey. He's going to be here for the next 30 years. But the Bears offseason, this is what they have at their disposal. And this is due in part to the moves by Ryan Poles. So right now they have 8 draft picks, 1 in the first round, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and 2 in the seventh. Now, what we know about 6th and 7th round picks, they make the team year 2, they make the team about 15% of the time. So at this point, it sucks to say this, but those are pretty much a scratch, right? The 6th, 7th round, and this is not just Ryan Poles and the Bears, guys. Go look at all the teams. Tell me a starting 7th round pick in the NFL right now. You did tell me 2.
Well, Poles should let Cunningham pick in the 3rd round.
But
he should just
salary cap space. Once again, the Bears are going to be projected.
Throw it at a dartboard with their eyes closed.
Once again, the Bears are projected to be top 5 in the NFL in salary cap with $82 million and 34 players on the contract.
And it can be more. It can be more too.
Ryan Poles,
a couple of guys.
As many mistakes as he has made, particularly retaining Matt Eberflus, this is once again like a clean slate in the offseason. The Bears are going to be in the best. And Sean earlier said, and this is not to disrespect you, Sean, I'm just bringing this up for
second clean slate.
Sean earlier said New Orleans would be a competitor for Bears for coaches. Mm-hmm. It would be a destination they want to go. Do you guys know who's last place in the NFL in terms of salary cap? And do you want to know what the number is? It's the New Orleans Saints, and they are negative $78 million in salary.
They bargained with the devil to get those teams to stay competitive a few years ago at the end of Drew Brees' career, and it's biting them in the ass.
Negative $78 million. The second worst team in terms of cap space is Cleveland at negative $19 million.
Well, that's that Deshaun Watson deal, man. Yeah. But listen, Kyle, what you're talking about, it's important to mention. Hey, Sean, welcome back. It's important to mention, Kyle, that this Bears team, you're saying they need to be in the playoffs this upcoming year. They're in the toughest division in football. Chance. So is this fait accompli? Because how do you're going to hire a new head coach and say, hey, listen, our expectations are we win the Super Bowl this year because Ryan Poles needs to save his job. But you're in the toughest position, the toughest division in football. You're going to be
Dustin, the question for me personally is Caleb Williams a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? If Caleb Williams is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, this team can make the playoffs next year. He'll be better than Jordan Love. He's better than Sam Darnold. It'll be better than
selling point.
He's better than Jared Goff.
PT57 wasn't Purdy was the 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yes.
For all the fans out there that don't believe in Caleb Williams, the only reason you're going to have good coaching candidates this offseason, or even going to consider this job,
what up,
is because Caleb Williams is your
Brandon, can Caleb Williams save this franchise, save Ryan Poles' job, and keep this train rolling?
I don't think he should have to.
I'll say this. There's a possibility
he can win.
There's a possibility if Anthony Weaver isn't the best coach you can get because Ryan Poles is your GM.
Yeah, if you got a lame duck GM, it does make it harder. Listen, we got Slick Sophistication chiming in, says he likes Todd Monken. What up, man? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you guys.
You guys answer this question to me though. If Caleb Williams is better than Jordan Love, Sam Darnold, and Jared Goff, why can't the Bears beat those 3 teams?
Because it's not quarterback versus quarterback throwing into a hoop.
But Dustin, we already talked about
we already got to run the football.
8 draft picks and $85 million to fix this roster.
Okay, so there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and the right ones need to be made, starting with the head coach.
I am under the belief that Caleb Williams does not need a perfect team to beat good teams. I think he's good enough that he can beat good teams.
They need a good leader.
Patrick Mahomes,
you need a good leader. You can't hire the coach.
Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a great team, guys. If you look at them on paper, they're not a phenomenal football team. They're not. Look at their offense. It's not phenomenal by any means necessary.
The Bears could have beaten the Lions and the Vikings this season.
You know what the Chiefs are?
Beat the Packers.
So add a couple more good players to the roster.
Win that division,
they're more than
like
capable of winning
Dustin
this
said,
division.
that division is going to be very tough to win next year.
I agree. It was tough to win this year.
With a new head coach, it's going to be very tough.
CSP thinks all that info about Kevin Warren and former coaching searches and polls is conjecture. Just want to throw that out there. That was a money grab by Dan McNeil, that whole books and articles.
Brandon, did you have the Chargers
and
Broncos making the playoffs?
I had the Broncos finishing ahead of the Chargers.
I had the Chargers in the playoffs.
But did you have the Chargers making the playoffs?
I had the Broncos in the playoffs. I did not have the Chargers in the playoffs.
I did.
All right, well, look at coaching does.
Look Kyle,
what a good coach can do.
That's my point, though. That's the point that Sean's making, Kyle.
Exactly. And I want to tell you this right now. The Chiefs finished 6-2, and that's against the AFC playoff field, and that's only because they rested everyone against the Broncos. They had 5 sacks without Chris Jones. Mahomes in his last week was 323 touchdowns. Kelsey was all over the place. Worthy was making plays.
Yeah, you don't want to coach the
win against a 10-win team on the freaking road. You know why? You say they're not a good team. You know what they are? They're coached very well from top.
Well, I never said they weren't a good team.
You just said that 2 seconds ago.
Here, guys.
No, I said they're not a phenomenal roster. I said they're not a phenomenal roster. Team includes coach, GM. That includes everybody. The team includes everybody in the building. The straight conditioning coaches, everybody.
The Chargers
so it's not a great roster.
Win the division.
It's not. Sean, is that roster 15-1? Sean, is that roster 15-1? Is the Chiefs roster a 15-1 team?
Is the what?
Is the Chiefs roster with the Chiefs roster? Did you pick them to go 15-1 this season?
I picked them to go 15
because of Patrick Mahomes.
I picked them to go 15-2. Actually, yes, I did. I picked them to go 15-2. I had them for that.
Exactly. I had them at 12-5. I had them at 12-5. And really quick,
I expect them to be very good.
Slick Sophistication. I love you, man. I want Cam Scatterboo too.
What's up,
I know Dustin hates that.
Sean, let's get into this list of head coaching candidates the Bears have requested for interviews. Okay, who are the Bears interviewing? What are we talking about in terms of our future head coach? Because that is going to be the most important thing. That's what we're talking about here. Can Poles hire the right head coach in a situation where he might not be guaranteed his job next year? What's the best coach we can get, and who are you guys wanting? Let's get into that. You got a list for us?
Well, right now we got Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, excuse me, Brian Flores, Anthony Weaver, Kingsbury, Vrabel, Vance Joseph, Drew Petzring, Thomas Brown, in-house internal, Anthony Weaver, John Gruden. No news on that yet. No news on Pete Carroll yet. But these are some of the names being thrown around. The interviews that we do have coming up, we do know Vrabel's going to be interviewed. We do Johnson and Glenn are going to be interviewed. Yeah, I think all three of them. Weaver. I think the Bears have 5 interviews set up this week. Glenn,
they have interviews requested, not scheduled.
Requested. You're right.
The only 2 scheduled interviews the Chicago Bears have right now, scheduled, like they already know when they're going to be in the building, are Thomas Brown. Obviously.
They can't come to the building. They have to Zoom.
They have to Zoom.
Sorry, a time. Ben Johnson and Thomas Brown are the only 2 interviews scheduled. Like they have a time for the interview.
They also requested Brian Flores and Arthur Smith today.
They requested. And
they requested Mike McCarthy.
And Tom Monken.
Listen, I thought it was kind of strange to see that the Bears requested to talk to a head coach who currently has a head coaching job already locked down. Like that's the Cowboys head coach, and they're requesting to talk to him. Why not request Mike Tomlin too while you're at it?
Dustin, on your solo show, you reference Monken, and then an hour later,
I would trade for Mike Tomlin, not for Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people pushing for Monken. Somebody in here was as well. I think it was.
Somebody else said.
Sean was talking about Monken 6 weeks ago.
I mean, it's just like a guy.
That guy's not a leader, man.
How do you guys feel about this?
Okay, I want to ask this question of all of you guys because I'm so thrown off and I hate this term so much. I hate it.
I know the question.
Please give me your definition of a leader of men because there's so many different coaching styles that are successful. So when you guys say leader of men.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah, because really quick, all I hear is leader of men. We need Dan Campbell. Rah, rah, rah. Bite the ankle. Blah, blah, blah. Is that your guys' definition of a leader of men?
No, because Lovie Smith was a leader of men.
Exactly.
Rah, rah. It's not. You can't give an answer to that question, Sean, because it's not tangible. It's not something that I can.
But you have to have a definition of what you consider.
No. It's a feel. It's a feel. Like when I sit and talk to you. We're sitting at the bar and we're having a conversation. You're going to pick up on my vibes. You're going to tell whether or not I'm a legit dude, whether I'm authentic, whether I'm feeding you a line of bullshit. I mean, it's just a feel thing, man. It's how do you communicate with people? It's how do you carry yourself? It's how do you handle your business?
Two things.
And everybody does it differently.
Do people
no matter what you want to say, you just gave a definition. So I appreciate that.
I'm doing my best to give it, but I can't explain it in this is what I'm looking for. I just know it when I'm around it. That's what
and that's fair. That's fair.
I think 2 things. Do people believe in you? Most importantly, in this organization, in sports in general. And secondly, there's a few qualities that I think, especially that. Let's just look at what do you think Sean Flus lacked?
Accountability, leadership, organization,
a brain, football knowledge.
I mean, he lacks so much. I can sit here for an hour.
So a person,
basically, what the cast of Wizard of Oz.
Your players believe in you. Your players believe in you. You expect people to get better every day. That's accountability, right? You're expecting each individual player to hold themselves accountable, to grow, to progress, develop, but also, Sean. I don't think that a leader is what Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell's a good leader, but I don't think that personality you're talking about is necessarily a leader. I do believe this. If there's a head coach like a Kevin O'Connell who sits with a half smirk on his face the entire time on the sideline, there's an ass kicker on that staff. It might not be O'Connell, but when you're dealing with 53 grown-ass, aggressive-ass men whose job is to kill people for a living, you have to have a person on the sideline who can tell a person, hit the locker room, dude. Get the hell out of here. I don't want to talk. Just get out.
Mike Singletary did that. He wasn't a good leader of men.
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying that's a leader.
Over here, when Slick's fit,
I'm not saying that's a leader. I'm saying
Slick's sophistication put these names up. these guys are all different kind of personalities altogether.
100%.
And that's why I was kind of asking your definition and what you're looking for.
Is he saying any read? Like any read
It's
at
like
all?
trying to define how somebody is the shit, man.
Well,
you
and
just
I think,
know it when they
guys,
walk in the room.
I think
You
here,
just know it.
personally, Sean, I watch a lot of coaches handle media and address players on sidelines. And I'll say this. There are guys who, when they even when they address the media, they can become inferior. Like Matt Eberflus. It was like he was timid, scared. Then there's guys who control the fucking room the minute they step in it until the minute they step out. When Mike Tomlin walks in a room, guys, and the media and the reporters are on the chairs talking, he walks in, they shut the hell up. They listen to what the hell he has to say. He delivers a meaningful message that isn't just word salad. And he goes about his business. And that's what he is. He's all business. That's a leader.
Okay.
So I look at these guys in their press conferences.
I'm just kidding, Slick.
And I dictate, is that a guy who's controlling? Is he superior to the people in the room right now? That's what I'm looking for. And you can see it. You can see this in people's body.
Do people fall in line? Do people fall in line when that person opens their mouth and walks into?
Yeah, when they talk to people, listen. Anybody who's not you don't want somebody who's not a follower.
And do you believe them? Like Dustin said, are they bullshit? Do you believe them? Did you believe what Flus had to say?
But Sean, I also agree with you. I agree with you, Sean, when you say that I don't think, no disrespect to Brennan or Dustin, but like people keep saying Ben Johnson's not only. I don't think anybody can know that until he's had a chance.
That's my problem with Ben Johnson. I don't know one way or the other.
You're right.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Brandon, you keep saying you wouldn't hire anyone from the Detroit staff, so I'm curious to why.
Who says that?
Brandon,
I said that, and I still listen, man. Two things that worried the hell out of me watching that team yesterday. One, no pressure, none. I mean, like, guys, that Vikings front is really good at getting it.
Oh,
Goff could have been sipping lemonades back there. That
the first half, Goff got beat up a little bit.
That concerns
me.
me.
A little incorrect.
Goff did get beat up.
Secondly, I think Campbell
got hit in the end zone.
Has a lot more control than people think of every single inch and aspect of that team.
No, that's what I'm looking for. Campbell clearly has all the control.
I'm concerned about
Ben Johnson's
right there.
I'm concerned that Campbell is what you're hiring if you hire Johnson, but you're not getting Campbell.
But right there, Dan Campbell has come out and said, I don't control the offense. I talk very little. He said it. Ben Johnson is control of the Detroit Lions offense. He puts his input in when asked.
I know that he's calling the plays, but he also, guys, Flus did not oversee anything.
Look, I'm worried about you.
I think that Dan Campbell is overseeing every aspect of his special teams, his defense. I don't think that Flus did that at all.
Oh, God, no.
I think that Campbell does that, and I think he has reach, and I think everybody answers to Dan Campbell. There is nobody. When Dan Campbell's saying we're going for two, there's no other coach on the sideline like one.
Oh, well, sure. Sure.
He's the head coach. That's
his call.
Because he's in charge.
But Ben Johnson could do that too. You don't know if he could. I mean, the only guy who's going to know.
Ben Johnson would need it.
The only guy who's going to know is Ryan Poles, man. When he interviews him, like Dustin said, he has to sit down in the room with him. Are you feeding me a line of bullshit? Can you be the leader of men? Can you be? Is your voice the loudest in the room?
To bring Randall
only Ryan Poles could know that.
Bring Randall out. If you're hiring Ben Johnson, tell him, hey, Randall can be your offensive coordinator, your wide receivers coach, who, by the way, has done a hell of a job at developing wide receivers. Randall L is one of the most slept-on coaches. I mean, look at the way these receivers on this team are developing. But that guy screams in people's faces when he's tired of it, dude. I think Ben Johnson needs somebody like that. That's what I'm going to say. I think he needs somebody. He needs an attitude like that with him.
I like this comment from Track, Chicago Sports Podcast. An NFL head coach inspires, unites, leads players through discipline, trust, vision, and that vision is all one vision shared by everyone, right? They mentor, motivate, and guide, shaping a team's culture and pushing them to achieve greatness on and off the field. I mean, that's a great way to sum it up, man. Yeah. And what are we?
If that's the definition of leader of men,
Kyle's
okay.
Right. You can never know.
That's a solid definition from Tracks. We appreciate you, boss.
We know that Vrabel is that. We know that, right?
Yeah,
I think that Vrabel is that guy.
I think we do. I mean, but here's the question, guys. What do you guys think of this list that the Bears have compiled? What do you think of this list? You don't like it. Why? Why?
I don't like some of the names on it. I don't like Petzing from he looks like Mega Man.
Arizona.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. Monken, I'm actually interested in. I don't mind Monken. Obviously, I like Ben Johnson.
Comes from that Harbaugh system. Ben Johnson. Yep.
Nothing to do with Aaron Glenn. I want nothing to do with Brian Flores. I want nothing to do with Anthony Weaver. I want nothing to do with Kingsbury. I want nothing to do with Vance Joseph.
Why?
No.
Why are you saying
why?
that?
Well, Aaron Glenn for one. I know everyone's enthralled with what he's doing in Detroit. His defense
is impressive. Sean, you got to give him credit.
His defense is still okay. You guys act as if the Minnesota Vikings, if they didn't have old Sam Darnold back, shouldn't have made that a ball game yesterday.
Most importantly,
he overthrew Justin Jefferson wide open in the end zone
because he was under pressure the entire game, Sean, because of the game plan that Aaron Glenn developed and executed.
Whoa, hold on. Most importantly, though, if we're talking about the list, let's focus on the list. There's guys that there's clearly going to be guys in there that Dustin mentioned it on. I think it was on the bare minimum when he talked about Brian Flores earned head coaching interviews this offseason. So did Aaron Glenn.
They got to get looks. They got to.
Whether
or not you hire them is a
Weaver did not.
They earn looks.
My issue is with the guys. My issue is with the guys who haven't earned head coaching looks, because Weaver is not even near the top of the best at what he's doing currently.
His defensive numbers aren't bad for the defense that he had, especially losing Wilkins. I mean.
I don't. If
here's
you're
my
not
question.
a top,
I'm not saying hire Weaver at all.
If you're not a top,
this is what I was trying to
unit,
get to, and maybe Kyle can answer this, because it's like, to me, it's like we've been talking all season about the Bears need to do their due diligence. They need to follow the process. They need to interview as many people as possible, cast a wide net. But every time a name comes up, everybody's like, "What the fuck are the Bears doing? What do you expect them to do?
Hey,
They're in the market for a head coach. You want a list of two?
I don't agree, though. I don't agree though with the more the merrier thing.
I agree with Dustin. I think there should be 50 names on this list. 50.
Why is that, Kyle? Why do you want that?
Because if Ryan Poles gets all of these guys in the building and talks to each one of them as individuals, and like you said, Dustin, like you just said, leader of men, how innovative they are, how creative they are, and he starts to pick and pull from each one of these guys and be like, well, I like this about Weaver, but I don't like this about Weaver. I like this about, whatever, Ben Johnson, but I don't like it. And he finds a guy that checks all those boxes, or at least as close to as many of those boxes as he possibly can. Then that's the guy you hire. And the only way you can do that is by doing your due diligence and interviewing as many guys as you possibly can. Vernon, I don't love Weaver either, but people keep talking about, he's Miami's defensive coordinator this year. They don't look that great. He was the assistant coach to John Harbaugh for the last 2 years before he came here, and he was the defensive line coach in Baltimore. That's a pretty damn good defense, man. I mean, I'm not saying he deserves to be that coach here, but he also deserves that. He's got a good resume, man. Go look back and look at his numbers. Go look at his coaching career. He's been in the NFL since 2012,
holding the same position on 3 different teams over 3 years.
Here, Dustin.
Guys, that's termination.
Sean,
he didn't take a lateral promotion. He got fired.
Or you wanted to live in Miami.
That's also head coaches getting fired and the whole staff goes. You don't have control over that.
No, not to mention, Vernon, some people leave because they feel like there's no room to grow. I mean, he knows he's never going to take John Harbaugh's job. That's never going to happen.
Well, Kyle, I don't want to interview a guy who ever feels like there's no room to grow.
I'll tell you this. I don't want a defensive guy. We've been down this road. The offense is evolving. You should be filling up this roster with offensive coordinators that you feel can fit the bill. No more defense, no more defense, no more defense. I'm done with this.
Why are you pigeonholing yourself into that?
Because the NFL has evolved. And when you look at the teams, and I'm going to tell you this right now, because we won't be able to get to this for about 3 weeks. When we get to the final 4 of the NFL, and we get to the final 2, and we get to the final champion, I have a feeling these teams are going to have 3 things in common. They're going to have an offensive head coach. They're going to have a stout offensive line. They're going to have a star running back. Those are going to be 3 things. 3 things the Bears don't have.
Not if it's the Bills. Pacheco's a star,
it's the Bills. That's Sean McDermott's a defensive.
With the exception of the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you look down this NFL roster and you go over the 14 teams, 11 of them have star running backs.
Sean.
The Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers are the only 3 teams in this that don't have an elite running back in their backfield.
Right now, that doesn't have a defensive head coach is going to utilize a star running back.
I'm just saying. I'm over the defensive side of the ball. This is what the Bears have been doing.
It's
time
not
to
about
get
offense or
to the
defense.
NFL.
It's not about
Hey,
offense and
and
defense.
if
It's about the right
if
guy.
that's your
That's
opinion,
why you
that's
need to
fine.
interview as many people as possible to
Sean,
find the right guy.
I agree with both you guys, and the only reason I agree with Justin, I don't think you should pigeonhole yourself. I think you should the best guy available, right? But I do think the most important thing in this coaching search, Sean, to support your argument, is the relationship between head coach and Caleb Williams. I think that's the most important.
And a head coach who comes from a defensive background can have a good relationship.
I agree. And sure. And a guy like Anthony Weaver, Anthony Weaver has coached both he was a running backs coach, he was a linebackers coach, he was a defensive line coach, he was a receivers coach. I mean, this guy has coached both sides of the ball. It doesn't have to be. It's as long as somebody who can come in here and I would say though, if you do hire a defensive coordinator, if I was Ryan Poles, I wouldn't say I wouldn't force an offensive coordinator upon the new coach, but I would ask him who his ideal offensive coordinator is.
Well, they've come out and said that, Kyle. If they hire that leader of men guy, they want to know what their plan is for Caleb. They want to go offensive guy because they want to worry about the development of Caleb. And if they hire a guy that's not Ben Johnson, they want to hear, what is your plan for Caleb? Who are you hiring as your offensive coordinator? What is your plan to develop Caleb? So they're obviously going to have that be their highest focus.
I'll give you the best example of why you hire an offensive guy. Who were you just talking about out of Carolina who looks much improved? Was that Bryce Young? Who's he working with? Dave Canellis? Who's Dave Canellis working with?
Offensive coordinators, Sean, have done that for quarterbacks. Geno Smith was saved by a defensive head coach.
He was an offensive coordinator.
Who?
No, Dave Canellis. Yes, he was for the Tampa
Dave
Bay.
Canellis.
Yeah, but
he's
saying
also resurrected Geno Smith's career. He's also resurrected Baker Mayfield's career.
Coached offensive.
He's resurrected Bryce Young's career. All I'm saying is an offensive coordinator. So, Sean, hold on, Brandon. You watched last night's ball game. What did Ben Johnson do to Ben Flores' defense?
Okay. So what are you saying? Sean, you're contradicting yourself. You're saying
that not necessarily. They scored 13 points in the first half. That was a defensive game for most of it.
They scored 31 points.
That's
and
what
I'll
it
tell you this
being.
right now.
That's what it ended up being.
In the 2 years that Brian
all they
Flores,
did was run the football.
Hold on. In the 2 years that Brian Flores, this elite defensive coordinator, has been there, he's had 30 points scored on him 7 times. 4 of those by Ben Johnson.
Yeah, but you're telling me that Ben Johnson.
That's a good stat,
man. You're telling me that an offensive head coach and Dave Canellis is saving Bryce Young. Well, also because he's an offensive head coach. Well, also telling me that an offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, turned Jared Goff around. So you don't need an offensive head coach.
Coordinator as you
don't need an offensive head coach to save a quarterback. You don't need an offensive head coach for Caleb Williams to be good.
Dan Campbell's
an offensive coordinator.
I mean, Dan Campbell was a tight end coach.
It really comes down to the right guy.
You said Ben Johnson.
It's not offense or defense. You can't.
Ben Johnson does take care of the offense, but he's.
I will say this,
you guys.
Coach. I will say that.
Don't eliminate half the pool.
Let me just make this. Let me say this, though, guys. I will say this. I think we all agree that before getting under the umbrella of Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold sucked, right? He was just not a good quarterback. He wasn't. He was with Mike Shanahan, and Mike Shanahan couldn't get him out of there, or Kyle Shanahan couldn't get him out of there fast enough. And if you look at the other side of it, Kirk Cousins had his 3 best seasons in the NFL under Kevin O'Connell. The second he left and went to Atlanta with a defensive head coach, Raheem Morris, Kirk Cousins was benched. His last 5 games he started, he threw 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions. What happened?
That's not an argument for an offensive head coach. That's an argument for not signing a guy who's coming off an ACL injury that's about to hit his 40s. Those are two different things.
You don't know. Some of that could be some of that is Kevin O'Connell.
He couldn't move.
So you're just giving Kevin O'Connell no responsibility for the fact that he maximized Kirk Cousins' potential. He gets none of that.
I think he had him at a good point in his career, 100%.
And he got Sam Darnold at a good point in his career.
Kirk Cousins had good seasons
shit out by every other team in the NFL.
And Josh McCown's about to be promoted from that organization for sure.
I don't think Kirk Cousins.
Shorty wants Josh McCown to be our head coach.
Yeah, Shorty does. He brought that up, Dustin.
Yeah. He mentioned it in the comments.
He said it's time for the comedy skit, and then he said that
he's going to be an OC.
No, but he seriously means that. He wants.
No, he does.
Yeah.
He's going to be an OC.
Who are we looking at as our head coach? If you had to narrow it down to 3 guys, Sean, you got to pick 3 guys from this list that no matter what, the Bears need to get one of these 3 guys. Who are we looking at?
God.
Sean, give 2 in order.
You just have Ben Johnson, and that's it.
In order.
I would probably say Ben Johnson based on the resume based on the resume and trajectory of a quarterback that I really don't like at all, but you guys love.
Thanks, Slick.
Lamar Jackson, who has continued to progress under Todd Monken. He's another guy that I would strongly consider. And then I would probably, if I had to go with somebody else on the list, it would probably be Vrabel. Johnson, Vrabel, and Monken. I'm not out on Liam Cohen either. Honestly, the more and more I see,
but they're not interviewing him. Are they?
They're not. He's not on
as
the
of
list.
yet. As of yet.
Because
they're not out of the playoffs either. So his name could.
Sean, you don't have Pete Carroll in your top 3, man.
I the whole Pete Carroll thing to me, I wouldn't be upset if he was here, but Pete Carroll's not an option because the Bears haven't reached out to him.
Pete Carroll is. Can we all at least agree that of all the guys in this list, Pete Carroll is the only one who's proven he can not only make a football team good, but change the entire culture of an organization.
Vrabel is the other guy.
I would be okay with Pete Carroll. I would.
Pete Carroll,
for me would have to come with a stipulation.
Kyle, let's hear your list. And
my one would be Ben Johnson. My two would, just because I think the most, like I said, I'll say this again. I know, like you said, Dustin, if you hire a defensive coach, he gets the right offensive coordinator. But then it's too many ifs for me. I think the relationship between Caleb Williams and the head coach is the most important thing to me personally. So for me personally, it would be Ben Johnson 1. I'd put Pete Carroll 2 and Mike Vrabel 3. And the reason I like Pete Carroll, man, is because he look at USC before he got there. Look at the Seahawks before he got there. Not only did Pete Carroll instill winning culture in Seattle, but they're still winning with Geno Smith. I mean, it's not just. It wasn't like Mike when Mike Vrabel left. The Titans kind of fell apart, right?
When Mike
Vrabel left, the Titans kind of fell apart. When Pete Carroll left, they looked like the exact same Seahawks as when he left. They look like the exact same team.
Yeah, he established
his talent evaluation was
success that will sustain itself.
Ben Johnson, Carroll, Vrabel for you, Kyle.
I will say this about Vrabel, and the one thing, if you go look up his offenses, they were never that great. Even
but he never had a quarterback.
The influence.
Ryan Tannehill is your guy.
I mean, whose fault is that?
Yeah, that's
general manager.
GM. Both. No, it's both. It's both. It's Mike Vrabel.
No, he was clearly forced out by management out of.
Yeah, but he got Tannehill paid, man.
Yeah,
and he also had a couple of.
He shouldn't have gotten Tannehill paid.
Before and Arthur Smith, and that shows that he can hire good offensive coordinators. Sean, that shows that.
Here, I'll just say this: I think Vrabel's a moot point because I think he's ending up in New England and he's going to be a Minuteman. I mean, I think that's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered at this point.
Well, Dustin, who are your 3, Dustin?
My 3 are, I mean, it's Vrabel, and it's Vrabel. Vrabel number 1, man, without a doubt. And I understand. Listen, I texted you guys as soon as Mayo got fired. They're going to go hard for Vrabel, and they should have done it last year.
Today, guys, was reported, I believe, by Adam Schefter today. That is not their number 1 pursuit.
Yeah, no, Pete. That's what I was about to get into.
Yeah, Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll has a history with New England as well. Pete Carroll is a guy who's, I think, between the Patriots and the Bears, they are looking for the same thing. They are looking for a person who can change their culture and give them an identity. Those 2 guys are Vrabel and Pete Carroll. Those are the safest bets for that. Ben Johnson could be that guy, but he has not shown that he is in the NFL yet as a head coach. Vrabel and Pete Carroll have. So that's why Vrabel. So it might come down to, do the Patriots want Pete Carroll or Vrabel? And if I'm Vrabel or Pete Carroll, I would take the Bears over the Patriots if I'm looking at my options.
Wow.
I personally feel that. I mean, Drake May has shown himself to be a good rookie quarterback, but there's a lot more talent on this.
And they just lost. They just lost the first overall pick.
I
don't know if this changes your.
They fell to like 6th.
I don't know if this changes anything about that statement, but the Patriots are like so far ahead of everybody else in the NFL in salary cap room this offseason.
No, for sure. And they have a lot of drafts. They have a lot of draft capital too.
They had the first overall pick in the draft a week ago.
Yeah, they messed that up. Listen, it's Vrabel. Then to me, it's Ben Johnson is my second guy because I'm good with him. I think he can develop Caleb Williams and make this offense really good. And I think he's got the example of Dan Campbell to show like how should this leader of men can't carry themselves and how should you lead a team. He's been working with Dan Campbell for years now to where he has that example. Okay, so I'm with Ben Johnson, and then honestly, man, Aaron Glenn has climbed up my list super quickly. Just the way he's overcome the injuries on that team and kept his guys playing hard is just super impressive to me. That shows a leadership ability that goes beyond the numbers. The team has allowed a lot of points in multiple games to the end of the season, but when it mattered the most, when it was on the line, they shut the Vikings down. When there was a play that needed to be made in a very important down, the Lions made that play and the Vikings did not, and Aaron Glenn was a big part of that. So Aaron Glenn,
did you guys
kind of in a two-way tie for my third spot.
Did you guys watch the Detroit what is it called? The Hard Knocks?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. Did you guys watch the Lions Hard Knocks, Burn and Dustin?
No.
You guys should watch that. There's a lot of Aaron Glenn in that. A lot.
Aaron Glenn is a real dude.
He's in Hard Knocks a lot.
Yeah, and he can relate to his players.
He's an asshole. Aaron Glenn's an asshole.
He don't take no shit.
Watch that Hard Knocks. That guy's an asshole. No doubt about it. He doesn't take shit.
Those are my three guys. Brandon, who are yours?
From the list?
Who are your top three guys?
Just if your dream coach candidates.
Who are your top three?
I would go Vrabel, Johnson, Cohen. That would be mine. But on the list, I'll probably with you, Kyle. Carroll probably falls behind Johnson and Vrabel. And Vrabel's first for me because, like I said, Kyle, you said it. You just said it yourself. He's the guy that brings the culture. I'm 100% like that. The Bears need that right now, guys. Right now, that's what the Bears need most. But I also, man, I keep doing this in my head. I'm discrediting myself for everything I've said prior to this, but I keep fighting in my head over whether or not Brian Flores would be a good head coach. There's a part of me that really believes in him, and there's a part of me that terrifies me.
I don't know if Flores gets a look from any. I don't know if he gets a legitimate look from any NFL team.
Hey, Brandon, I'm going to put this
higher from that list.
I'm going to put this up on the screen. You ready?
Okay, but consider your source, Sean.
Consider that he tried to ruin Tua Tagovailoa.
That was Tua's
quote. Tua can ruin himself on his own. He don't need no help.
But that was Tua's quote. That's the source.
Tua's not a very good quarterback.
I mean, Justin, but he's kind
of a whiny bastard.
Justin, we have heard thing about player relationships for Brian Flores. We've heard negative things about it. It's not just Tua. It's not just Tua. There was a lot of it. A lot of it came out of Miami after he got fired.
Yeah. And when you're the boss of people, they always talk shit about you.
I will say though, Brian Flores,
Sean, you know that.
Sean, Brian Flores got fired as a winning football. He had a winning record.
You know what Brian Flores' first thing he did when he got to Miami?
He fired Ben Johnson.
That's right. Yeah. That shows me all I need to know. Tried to ruin his quarterback.
I don't think Flores gets
bad relations with his players.
Yeah, but Sean, how many coaches retain coaches from prior coaching staffs? I mean, that's very rare.
That's very
rare.
Yeah, that's kind of a common practice. Ben Johnson was asked about it. He didn't make a big deal about it.
He said he wanted his guy.
You know what Ben Johnson does? You know what Ben Johnson does? He's a silent assassin. He drops 30 points on his defense every time they play.
The thing
he doesn't need to say, that guy fired me. He just goes, kicks his ass.
Sean, did you have Mike Vrabel on your list?
About Flores, though, man, is Sean.
So we all had Ben Johnson and Vrabel on our list.
It's Ben Johnson and Vrabel. Those are the top two guys.
We all have those guys.
That's what I expected.
Sean,
that's
you
what it
mentioned
needs
earlier
to be.
This show. The thing that's impressed me about Flores, the thing that that I said kind of in the back of my head is he's really good at developing players. That is one of his strongest, one of his biggest strengths. Van Ginkel
and new players immediately. He just gets on his roster.
Van Ginkel is like, I mean, he's had
his secondary does suck, right? I mean, it was like 29
over there.
So I got a question for you guys, though. You guys are Brian Flores. Brian Flores is so good. He got picked apart by Ben Johnson yesterday.
Picked apart how?
You could say first half. Ben Johnson came out in the second half with the game plan and absolutely destroyed Brian Flores.
Once they established the run, Sean, for sure. That's what it was. It wasn't any special offensive game plan. It was, we're going to run the ball down your throats, and then that'll open up some play action. That'll get us some openings and down the middle.
Oh, so the coach doesn't get any credit for that.
No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that's you're not giving Brian Flores any credit, Sean. Brian Flores.
Why would I give up a guy who just gave up 31 points and lost the division?
Aaron Glenn gave up over 30 points in multiple games too. I'm not going to discredit what he's done with that team. He's made a major impact on that team winning football games, just like Brian Flores has for the Minnesota Vikings.
What scares me about Brian Flores is their secondary stocks
on Aaron Glenn, because Aaron Glenn's defense should have gave up 3 touchdowns and a good quarterback, not Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold, like I've said from the beginning of the year, if you get pressure on that son of a bitch, he's going to do exactly what he did. There's plenty of quarterbacks that would have made the
like Jerry discredit Flores because Ben Johnson dials up a game plan that exploits his his defense, but then you're going to discredit Glenn because it should have been a different quarterback throwing the football
I'm discrediting him because his defense allowed penetration deep into the zone, and it wasn't his defense that stopped him. It was bad throws by Sam Darnold. He had wide receivers.
There was a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold making him make those bad throws, my man. Chris Collinsworth outlined it the whole game how they were pushing
got pressure
right up on Sam.
He got pressure.
It was a game plan.
Smith had a big game.
I think it's kind of surprising that you guys are just discrediting the fact that the Vikings have the 29th ranked secondary in the NFL. That's a problem.
I'm just saying,
in a passing league, that's a problem.
Ryan Flores
is diving into Flores too much.
Hey, listen,
let's not dive into Flores.
I think it's
too
Ben
much.
Johnson and Vrabel. You can swap them however you want. I think if the Bears get away with one of those guys, they're gonna be okay. What do you guys think? So would you be happy with either one of those guys?
And really quick, Jared Goff was 27 for 33. That's not a that's a really good day against a really good defense.
That's all. Not a good secondary. Not a good secondary. It's not a good secondary.
Definitely not. And what was most impressive to me is how they ran the ball down a really good run defense's throat.
That it is. It is a good run defense. That was impressive.
And
that Detroit offensive line. That Detroit offensive line can't be stopped. The NFC Championship is Lions-Eagles. That's the NFC Championship.
And the Lions are going to win a Super Bowl, guys. We didn't even get into the NFL. We've been going for an hour and 35 minutes. We didn't even get into what happened real quick.
And Brian Flores' pass rush is probably consistently top 5 in the NFL.
What's up, Mike Ross?
As long as he's been a defensive coordinator.
Sure.
He gets pass rush. And
he blitzes more than anybody else in the NFL. He gets 70% pressure out of his team, and they signed players. They got rid of Hunter, and they signed 3 players to take up Hunter to help that defensive front.
Flores giving up 27 to Waldron.
Biggest indictment for myself.
Flores is not on my list. All I'm saying is that what he's done as the defensive coordinator over the last 2 years for Minnesota has been impressive enough that he should get some looks from some teams. I don't think he's going to be hired by anyone. He filed a lawsuit against the NFL. I think that's going to matter when it comes down to his interviews, guys. But he has earned it on his merits. He has earned the looks. He has.
Sure. Justin, there's a guy you mentioned a couple weeks ago who I really like, and I know the Bears, nobody's even talking about him. The Bears certainly have not scheduled an interview with him or anything, but the Chargers defensive coordinator is a guy to me that the Bears need to at least bring in the building and talk to. I mean,
I think so too.
You guys we just talked about this. Like nobody expected with the way the Chargers have turned that team around, what they've done there, particularly the defense. That Chargers defense is really good. Mm-hmm. Even and how do you guys feel about Vance Joseph?
Vance Joseph,
yeah.
No, that defense for Denver has been really good this year. He had a really rough go as a head coach, but I mean, we've seen guys who have become retreads that didn't go well their first time. Dan Quinn's doing really well in Washington right now. I mean, we have a precedent for these guys finding a way to succeed. Vance Joseph has turned that Broncos defense into something scary, man. It's intriguing to me. He wouldn't be in my top 3, but I'm good with the Bears interviewing him. I really am.
I really like Jesse Minter. I think that's an interview that
I like him.
A guy they should at least bring in for sure. No doubt about it.
I love anything out of the Harbaugh tree, dude. Anything out of the Harbaugh tree that falls down, I'll pick it up and eat it.
Well, guys, we got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about the NFL. So obviously, a few weeks ago, we all made our NFC championship predictions. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are going to change the Steelers. I would hope.
I would hope you're going to change the Steelers.
They're probably not going to be.
Them not going to Houston, now going to Baltimore, that makes a big damn difference for sure. And they lost that game
I don't think there's a chance now. But let's hear your prediction. Sean, do you have the schedule in front of you? Can we talk about that real quick?
Saturday we got the Chargers at Houston and Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
So we're all Baltimore, right? All 4 of us.
What was that, Sean?
Brandon, Baltimore.
Yeah,
I'm going go Chargers.
I hate betting against Mike Tomlin, but yeah.
I'm going to go Chargers Baltimore.
Yeah, the Chargers game is interesting to me. I think that's a game that
the Chargers murder that.
Chargers going to beat the hell out of it.
You just talked about that defense, man, against that CJ Stroud. We're watching.
No, I agree. But I agree with all of you guys. There are people saying that Houston should be the favorite. I don't understand where that's coming
from.
At
home.
Imagine they are. They won their division.
They're not favorites. The Chargers are favored by 3 points.
And they should not be favored.
Chargers are 3-point favorites.
The Chargers are clearly a better football team. Okay, who do we have? So we all have the Chargers.
So Baltimore and then Pittsburgh. We're all picking the Chargers?
What else do we got?
We got Baltimore and Pittsburgh. We didn't pick on that one.
I picked Baltimore.
Pittsburgh at Baltimore, sorry.
I'm gonna take.
Baltimore at
taking
home.
Yeah, Baltimore's taking that pretty easily.
I do think it's good. I think Pittsburgh's gonna muddy that game up. I don't think it's gonna be like any ass whooping. I think Pittsburgh's defense is still legit, but
dude,
I think the Baltimore's just too much for them.
I think Baltimore has to be pissed off that they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers for the third time this season. Those divisional games are always tough. Pittsburgh finds a way to make it a 16-9 game, man.
Pittsburgh won. Pittsburgh beat them.
Pittsburgh won 18-16 and lost 34-17. And I will tell you this:
they can muddy it up.
I don't trust Russell Wilson.
Sean, where did they win?
I don't.
At home.
What's the spread on that one?
One at home.
It's a Baltimore
is 9.5 points.
9.5. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're big, dude.
I might take the Steelers with those 9.5, but Baltimore's going to win that game.
Well, they just played in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. It was 34-17.
Yep. But like we just said, man, these divisional games, you never know. It's not going to be in this last week of the season with all these divisional games.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be blowout. I
don't think so either.
I like that 9.5.
So, Sean, what we got for the Sunday matchups?
Sunday fun day. We're going to kick it off with my Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos.
That is going to be a game. That is going to be a good game.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Buffalo is going to kick their ass.
Do you think so?
Buffalo is going to beat the hell out of the Broncos.
I think they're going to kick their ass.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think that's going to be. I think the Broncos defense is the best.
You're a Bills fan.
I think it's going to be. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think it's going to be a shootout.
I think the Broncos have the best defense in the NFL right now. This week,
be a shootout.
I'm not concerned. The Broncos defense is going to get torched. I think the Broncos have the best defense in the NFL.
I think they're going to get torched, but I think it's going to be a shootout. Bo Nix is throwing like 20 touchdowns in 4 weeks.
Well, I think Buffalo's going to be doing most of the shooting, and the Denver's going to do the out part. To be quite honest,
I expect that to be a game. I expect the Bills to win by like anywhere from 4 to 7, but I do have the Bills winning that. I think Josh Allen's just unstoppable right now. He's just at a point in his career where he wants to win more than anything in the world. Sean, what's the next one?
I mean,
3 weeks ago. I want to run on that Denver team.
3 weeks ago, Denver allowed Jameis Winston to throw for 500 yards, and they gave up 40.
Yeah, they're going to get torched, but I think the Bills' defense is egregiously bad. I'm going to stick to this. Bills' defense is going to make it tough to win. They're going to have to.
I don't think they're going to make it tough to win this game. I think they're going to make it tough to win.
I don't know, guys. Bo Nix has impressed me more than
I think Portland Sutton's going to have 120 yards and a touchdown for sure.
Once you start talking about their competition and the fact that it's in Buffalo, man, I don't think it's going to.
I would not take that back.
A great story, and I've been very impressed by them.
Their story. Sean, I thought you had over 100 yards and a touchdown. I bet you $1.
I'm not even in on it. I don't care.
Hundo pennies.
Track says real quick, he asked Mike Ross, is he related to Chargers? Bobby Ross, the one that went to the Super Bowl to the Niners and got their asses kicked. The Niners beat that was one of my favorite Super Bowls to watch. The Niners beat them by like 5 touchdowns. I don't even remember the score anymore, but they beat the hell out of them.
Sean, next game.
We got the 3:30 game. The Fly Eagles Fly versus that team from up north. And I'm going to take the Eagles to kick
the Packers
that ass.
Couldn't have finished their season worse.
Aren't the Eagles only 4.5-point favorites in that?
They are 4.5-point favorites, and I will take that all day.
Yeah, I'll take that all day.
It's going to be a competitive match.
I agree with Brandon. I just don't think it was a good situation for the Packers to go in the playoffs, but that taste in their mouth against
the Packers needed to win that game.
Losing the only downfield threat they have in Christian Watson.
Dude, and I said it to you guys earlier in a text. What's worse is he kind of sucked the momentum out of his own team because he said, I need my team to prove to me we're going to play a clean game, start to finish. It was one of the worst games they've played all year. They held penalties. They dropped the ball 4 times.
Brennan, I think the same could be said about Minnesota. I think the same could be said about Minnesota. That was not a good game for Minnesota to enter the playoffs.
The Packers was worse.
The moment was too big for Minnesota, man.
I think we're really missing the fact that the Eagles are a fucking good team. The defense has been the best in the NFL.
Vic Fangio.
Juan Barkley is going to run all over that Packers defense.
What Vic Fangio?
Jalen Hurts is still in the concussion protocol. That's one thing.
So I was asking Kyle about that earlier. I said, "Have you heard him?"
No, he's still in it
by now.
He's still in the concussion protocol. So, but they've been playing well with Kenny Pickett too.
I'll tell you this: I'm going to change my pick if there's no Jalen Hurts.
Hurts might not be playing in this game, but I'll still take the Eagles. You
guys, not to change the subject,
but that's why that line is so low, Sean.
You guys know Jaquan Brisker is still in concussion protocol? Did you guys know? He's still in concussion protocol.
He never cleared it.
He has not been cleared. Yeah, that's awful.
He's still going to be in concussion protocol in April.
He finished that game. He finished. He played after that where he got knocked out.
Man.
He played.
At least the Eagles have the benefit, if they're missing their starting quarterback, of just handing the ball off
to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I was going to say DeAndre Swift had a sneaky
45 times.
DeAndre Swift had a sneaky good game against the Packers. They're vulnerable against the run. Saquon Barkley is going to have the big day against the Packers.
Yeah,
the Eagles are going to kill him.
The Eagles are going to kill him.
Saquon Barkley's going to have it's going to be a show, man. Get your popcorn, because that dude has barely tasted playoffs in his career. What, once?
Burn, didn't you say Romeo Doubs is also out?
Show out. What?
Romeo Doubs is also out of this game with Christian Watson?
Doubs is questionable. Watson's done. Yeah, Watson's done.
I mean, they're done. The Packers are done.
All right, Sean, they might be starting Reed and Reed. They might be starting Reed and Wicks as their
Trax points out that Darnell Wright was the 5th highest graded right tackle in the league, according to someone. That's cool. Stop with the Jalen Carter nonsense. I'll never stop. I'm never going to stop. Jalen Carter was
Sean, is there a Monday night game as well?
We
got a Sunday night game and a Monday night game.
Well, we just talked about this Eagles defense.
Hey, really quick, guys.
Jalen Carter.
Vic Fangio. They added Vic Fangio.
18 minutes ago, NFL insider Mark Ruffalo said he expects Hurts to return and start this Sunday. So I would say this.
I think the Eagles
I would bet that line right now before that becomes official.
I think they would pay off the NFL to get him in this game.
The late game on Sunday night is Washington Commanders and
gonna be a hell of a game.
I'm taking Washington.
That's gonna be a hell of a game. I think
I'm
that's
gonna tell you this. I'm gonna go against the grain, even though Tampa Bay is 3-point favorites. I'm gonna stick with Tampa in this one.
Tampa's winning that game, but it's gonna be close and it's gonna be fun.
Here, it has nothing to do with the rookie quarterback. It has everything to do with I just want Baker Mayfield to win.
Baker Mayfield is gonna find ways to win that game. Baker Mayfield will make a play to win that game because that's what Baker Mayfield does.
He's a national treasure, man. I really want. I want them in the NFC Championship game, for Christ's sake. You know, they played the Lions to a 2017 game earlier this year.
I just think Tampa's secondary is awful.
That's why it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, and
that's going to be a real shootout. That's going to be the shootout of the weekend, guys. That's going to be fireworks the whole game.
They've had the same bad players on their secondary for like 3 seasons.
No, they've gotten rid of players.
That Dean guy's been there forever, dude.
Yeah, their secondary is atrocious.
Listen, tune in for that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be excited to see what Jaden Daniels does, and I think he's going to do a lot in that game to make it very competitive.
I agree.
The Bucs veteran, like they're kind of vets in the playoffs. They were just in there last year, just beat the Eagles in the playoffs in the first round last year in the wild card. I like the Bucs their veteran presence to take over.
Brennan, you got the Bucs? You guys all Bucs?
I'm all
Bucs. Yeah, I got the Bucs. I think Mike Evans torches that team.
Kyle's got the C words.
Mike Evans is gonna catch like 180 yards and 2 TDs in that game.
Our boy from Chicago is gonna be the X factor, Bucky Irving.
I want the Bucs to win because I like the Bucs. They're one of my favorite teams.
Murder that second.
I just think Washington is their offense is nobody stopped them.
Jalen McMillan's turned it on too, man. That guy
was a stud. He was.
They got to stop the Buccaneers too. They got to stop.
Everybody talks
about. It's gonna be a hell of a game.
I like the Commanders' defense better than the Buccaneers.
That's going to be the funnest game of these playoffs.
I thought McMillan was better than him.
And then they got Austin Eckler. The Commanders got Austin Eckler back.
Is Eckler back?
Now they have that guy out of the backfield.
I mean, Odunze was the best of the 3 at Washington, but
McMillan just didn't get any time because he was behind those guys.
McMillan's better than Polk.
Up big. He helped me win some fantasy matchups for sure. At the end in the playoffs,
I told a buddy to pick him up, and he had a slow start when he got plugged in after the injury to Godwin, and my buddy dropped him. I told him, like, man, that wasn't a win now. Like, that wasn't a win today pick. That was like because he was second place in his league. I told him, like, you hold on to that piece, man. Like, you wait for that guy. He's a rookie, and he's a starter on a pass-heavy team. Why would you drop him?
That's going to be the game of the weekend, guys. That's going to be the game of the weekend.
We got Minnesota and the Rams down in the City of Angels to wrap up the weekend. Monday night.
Yeah.
And the Rams are at home as 2-point dogs, but I'm going to stick with Puka, Cooper, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams. and the Los Angeles Rams.
This is your Vikings hate speaking. You've been hate the Vikings all
I
year.
hate the Vikings. Here, Dustin, I'll be honest, they're my most hated team in all of sports.
It's irrational, though. The Vikings are a better team than the Rams. I don't care that they're on the road. I think they find a way to win. If you look at this Rams offense, man, it's been stagnant for weeks, really, since they went off against the Bills.
It's been a little slow.
Their defense has been killing it. Their defense has been killing it. If they turn it into a defensive game, who knows?
Did O'Connell learn from Shanahan or from McVay?
Both.
Yeah, man, that makes the Rams a little more interesting. That McVay taught O'Connell how to do this.
Yeah,
and it's like he might know what the hell that guy's
got. The Jedi and the Padawan kind of.
He's a hell of a coach, man. He's definitely got some insight there for sure, and that's not.
Bruce likes the Rams.
Who won that game in the regular season? How bad did the Vikings beat them in the regular season?
The Vikings and Rams, they didn't play.
Oh, I thought
No, they played.
No, they
played.
Oh yeah, they did. Sorry, 30-20.
It was not a close game, really.
30-20. The Rams lost in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it wasn't as close as that score either.
When was it?
That was week number 8.
Were they missing all the guys still?
No, they had started to get some of their guys back. I mean, listen, I don't see how
the Rams. Nakua had 7 for 106. Cup 5 for 51. Kyron Williams had 23 for 97. So they had all their guys.
Yeah, they did. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll take the Vikings.
Vikings are winning this game.
Let's go!
If the Vikings pressure Stafford, they're certainly going to win.
Yeah, vice versa. You get pressure on Darnold, you got a chance.
Well, Stafford
Jared Verse is going to ruin that game for Minnesota.
Brady Fisk has more stats
Stafford
than
has
Jaden.
no mobility anymore. He used to be able to squirm and take
Jared Verse creates more havoc, though.
Yeah, he does. He does.
I love Jared Verse. Jared Verse is the defensive rookie of the year.
Listen, the young defense of the Rams is super impressive. Cam Kinchins has been awesome. I wanted the Bears to draft him. He's been a great safety for them, filling in too. It'll be an exciting game, I think, but the Vikings are going to find a way to pull that out.
Who's the Rams defensive court? Who took over from Morris?
Oh God, I don't know this.
Because that's somebody who's probably on their way to get some interviews for some jobs.
All right. The only difference is between all of us is Sean has the Rams to win and I have the Commanders to win.
Chris Shula is the defensive coordinator for the Rams.
Shula's son, huh?
Don Shula's grandkid?
Is that might be his grand? Yeah, it is his grandkid.
Yeah, it is.
No way. That's
yeah.
So he's gonna, guys. So I'm gonna tell you this.
I got the Rams.
By brevity alone, he's got to be a head coach.
Who?
Because his name Shula.
In Miami?
Maybe.
Trax asks, who's winning the Super Bowl, guys? I got the Lions all the way. This team has team of destiny vibes. They're going to do whatever it takes to win. Every time one of my favorite things to watch is their locker room after a game. They all believe in each other, man.
Hey, can I tell you guys this? I watched Dan Campbell in that post game in that locker room, and I'm not gonna. The jealousy was just all like I couldn't even control myself.
Yeah.
I was upset, and I was just like, I hope that management for the Bears is what. I hope management for the Bears watched that game last night because I was jealous watching that football game.
Caleb did.
Did you see when they gave him 4th and inches? Dan Campbell, he walked all the way down to that side
to look at it,
and he's like,
we're going for it.
Like he was about to rip the ref's head off. Like if this is a bad spot, he saw.
You guys, how disappointing is it? Yeah. How disappointing is it that the Bengals defense started the year off so slow? Because Joe Burrow in the playoffs is just better for football.
That's the biggest miss. That's the biggest miss. Yeah, Luana Romo got fired.
Yeah. Answer tracks. I'm going Bills, Eagles.
I wanted Joe Burrow in the playoffs. They could have been a dangerous team if they had snuck in.
Yeah, they had a much better chance against the Bills than the Broncos do. I'll tell you that, just because of their offense.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, but
Lions versus Chiefs.
But what the Chargers are starting to do happened so much quicker than I thought Harbaugh was. Like Dustin called this.
Got the Ravens. Ooh,
Dustin called this out. The way Herbert's been playing, McConkey's been playing, that running back duo is playing. I don't want to face that team in the playoffs at all. I don't want to face Jim Harbaugh's team. I would not be surprised, guys, at all if Jim Harbaugh ended up in not going to say win, in a Super Bowl this year as the head coach of the Chargers. This guy wins championships.
just
Or
I'm not
gets
going to
there.
say win. Then you're like, this year.
Well, sorry. He won a college championship and he made it to a Super Bowl. Last season as a coach in the NFL?
No, it was not his last season, but it was like his third season with the Niners.
You
He
know,
died on the Kaepernick.
you know, there's a really good chance they meet up with the Chiefs in the first round, right? So you're saying they're going to Kansas City?
Well, not in the first round, in the
first
divisional
round.
round.
Well, in the divisional round, yeah.
Sean, Jim Harbaugh is a person I believe in. I like Andy Reid.
Both of those Chiefs-Chargers games were very
The
close.
NFL got lucky that Jim Harbaugh took a couple years off because I love Andy Reid and he's the coach of the fucking century right now. But Jim Harbaugh might be a force that comes into this league and says, we're the top dog now. I mean, he does this, man. He wins.
I don't want in there, Minnesota
This roster's not
Think about these
enough.
matchups we would have in the divisional round. We got the Bills and the Ravens. If those two win out, right? What we just predicted is right.
Yeah.
We got the Chiefs and the Chargers. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. We got the Eagles and who the 2-7, and it's going to play the 3 seed. That's going to be
the Eagles and the
Buccaneers or the Vikings. So the Eagles will probably play the Vikings based on our majority how we pick.
They'll shred the Vikings.
Yep. And then we got the Lions playing the Bucks. The NFC is not as intriguing.
Which would be an awesome game. The Lions, Buccaneers.
The Bucks beat the Lions earlier this season, guys.
20-17. It was a ball game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was the
Mike Ross says as long as it's not the Chiefs again. I agree, Mike. No more Chiefs. I'm done.
I
with
agree.
Chiefs.
I hope the Chargers beat them. I hope the Chargers beat the Chiefs. I'm going to be rooting for that so hard.
Jim Harbaugh and Baker Mayfield.
Mike, I would take
people I'm rooting on. For the
I would
rest
take whoever wins that. If it ends up being Ravens Bills, I would take whoever wins that game over the Chiefs.
The Ravens will beat the Bills, man. They will.
The Ravens will beat the Bills?
Styles win fights, man. And if the Bills can't stop the run, the same thing that happened in the first game, dude. They ran the ball 34 times for 270 yards and almost 9 yards a clip. If the Bills can't stop the run,
saying this right now, Sean.
Look, I don't want to say it.
Yeah, but that's tainted, man, because they had a 90-yard run. So that
but I'm going to say this though, Sean. Since that game that you're referring to, where they got destroyed,
the
their
Bills
rush defense has not allowed a 100-yard rusher.
They have not.
The final 6 weeks of the season, and their pass defense is what the hell I would be worried about.
Here,
if I'm going, Lamar Jackson can pass the damn ball.
Here, I'll tell you this right now. I don't want to face King Henry and what could possibly be his last chance to win a Super Bowl on what is a better roster than what the Buffalo Bills have, because the Ravens do have a better roster.
There's not many teams that want to face.
Those will be at home though, so there's that.
There's not many teams that want to face.
Henry's going to be back there next year in the same spot.
Not many teams want to face Josh Allen.
Track says that.
I'm with you. You know, there's no team left in this playoff right now I want to win a Super Bowl more than Josh Allen. Styles win fights, man. And the Ravens are a bad fight to match up with the Buffalo Bills.
And the Ravens are some bad dudes too.
I'm just saying, man. Yeah. I want the Bills. I just picked the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. I just said Bills and Eagles in the Super Bowl. I don't know if they can beat the Ravens, and it's not because if you go back to that game, the Bills game, Lamar Jackson only passed the ball 18 times. They ran the shit right up the Bills' ass.
Track says, guys,
could you imagine though if
I'm trying to read that too.
Could you imagine if the Ravens and Chiefs play in the AFC title game, and after the first week of the season, remember that toe tapping?
Yeah, Isaiah Likely in the back of the end zone.
If that's how the AFC ends, the way it started, like that would be
very poetic.
Didn't Zay Flowers get hurt?
Zay Flowers did get hurt. Was he the one that was carted off because Rashad Bateman came back?
No, Zay Flowers is okay.
He got hurt.
Okay.
You got hurt on the last play of the game.
He got carted off.
He got hurt on the last play of the game. Yeah, he did.
If somebody got carted off, it was Odell Beckham, and I know he's not on that team.
Hold on, let me look at Zay Flowers' injury really quick. I'm pretty sure
Mike Ross is rooting for the Bills. Eagles have the best D, top 5 O-line. It's Saquon. It's the NFL. Who knows? Trax did say that he believes that Balky staying in Jacksonville means that Ben Johnson's off the table for them. I think that's going around for sure.
I think right now the Broncos have a better defense than the Eagles.
Do you guys have any more behind that? I asked you in a
text, nobody responded. Here, guys.
Why does Ben Johnson have a problem with this guy?
Balky has not really got the best name around the NFL, man. Just a lot of NFL executives were kind of trashing.
I wouldn't want to be named Balky either.
No, it's jealousy. I have no admiration for those organizations. Jack. None whatsoever.
You have to admire some of it, man. When you see Dan Campbell rallying the troops, it's like,
listen, I'm jealous. I'm jealous, but I'm jealous. I don't have that for my Bears team, and I
love Kevin O'Connell, man. I love the way he stands on the sideline with
Zay Flowers is not playing in this game.
Cocked down over his eyes with a half smile and doesn't move. Like
Zay Flowers is out.
That was night and day.
Zay Flowers is out. I was going to say that.
Zay Flowers is out. He has been ruled out already of the Pittsburgh game. He is not playing.
That's bad. That's bad for the Ravens.
I don't think he's going to play in the playoffs, dude. I'm pretty sure I saw him carted off.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I saw him carted off.
Yeah, he was. He was carted off in the last play of the game.
Guys, we're coming up on 2 hours, man. Do you guys got any New Year's resolutions? You guys got anything that you're going to be focusing on this year? I want to hear them.
Eating healthy.
I want to hear them. Sean, what do you got?
I'm with Kyle. I'm trying to eat healthy and get back after my surgery here in a week. After I'm back on my feet in 12 weeks, I'm gonna get back to working out and trying to get back into health because I used to ride 15 miles a day on my bike and I just quit.
You guys know before I actually knew Sean, I had met him prior, but before I actually knew Sean, I was driving my car in the neighborhood I lived in at the time, and I see these people on a bike trail. They're all riding their bike. They're about to pass the street, and this guy eats shit and falls down off his bike. It was Sean.
Hey, tell the whole story though.
It was raining. It was raining.
It was a torrential downpour, and we were riding on a trail.
Next to Ferguson.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was a torrential downpour on your face.
It's safe with me, Joe.
It was.
Well, yeah. So Sean's going to get back to exercising and eating.
Look, that old man fell. Oh, that's Sean.
I kind of do eat.
Is that Joe Biden?
I make everything organically at home, pretty much. So I don't eat. Tuesday is the only day I really eat out.
Nice.
But getting back to working out is what is most important, and getting my body working on this core and getting healthy for 2025.
It's tough with rheumatoid arthritis, man. You work out one day and everything in your body's barking at you. It's rough.
Mike Ross says no more Bears games for
Dustin, mine is definitely eating healthy for sure. That's my New Year's resolution. I got a baby girl now. I got to start focusing on trying to be here as long as I can. Man.
Yes, sir.
You guys know I already have kidney issues. So, what about you, Dustin?
I didn't even know my dog was in here. Hi, buddy. Sorry.
Oh, dude, I changed my diet in the middle of November, and I've been working out at least 5 days a week since then, and I'm just gonna keep that going. I've lost 33 pounds since.
Nice, dude.
That's awesome.
So I'm just sticking with that. My New Year's resolution started in November, but I'm kind of killing it. So I just got to keep that going. It feels good, man. So I'm with you.
We just gotta stop going to Sean's garage where all the carbs are.
Yeah, I brought a bunch of pizzas that day. That was a cheat day for me. You know, you got to treat yourself sometimes. You know, you got to treat yourself sometimes. You can't all be just disciplined and boring shit like that.
Well, there are some things in crap food that you need. So,
what about you, Brandon?
Oh yeah, I mean, texting about it the other night. I'd like to get in the gym, but I'm sure you guys know my biggest concern and my biggest focus moving forward has been what it has been for the last
career.
Yeah. So.
Me too. I'm in that boat too.
Listen, guys, it's a new year. 4 stars made it to the new year.
And the Bears are undefeated in the new year.
Listen, we're undefeated in the new year. I think this is our best show ever. We just started out with a bang, guys. Listen, we're going to keep building. We're going to keep working with tracks over at CSP. It's going to be an awesome year. Everybody stick to your resolutions. If you got them, we got your back. We love everybody for joining. Mike Ross, Plank, CSP. We had everybody in here. Shorty, Breaking News Bruce, Shy Trey, Turd Ferguson even chimed in. Slick Sophistication, PT.
You guys are the bee's knees and his wheelchair.
Scott Angel. I mean, this has been a great chat. Hell of a way to start the new year for us.
You know what? This just came hot off the press. Caleb Williams owns something new. He just got it yesterday.
God, Sean, you're ridiculous.
Get that on his wall.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys. I hope everybody's New Year's resolution works.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit. Fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah. Let's go.
Well, we
They
got to
actually
update.
did.
We got to
Fuck
update
Green Bay, guys. They actually did it for once. Like this, actually.
We got to update the fuck Green Bay video because Jalen Johnson has said it twice now during it. So is DJ Moore. We got to start.
I'll see if I can. I'll see if I
Jalen
can.
Johnson flicked off Packers fans when he was walking off the field yesterday.
He did. That was so awesome.
Yeah, it was. Listen, guys. Great show. Great job. Appreciate y'all.
Oh, you can't. We can't see it.
Oh, let me get that out of there. Let me up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had to have a little fun with Green Bay today. I'm sorry.
It was a lot of fun with everybody today. We
It was a lot of
appreciate
fun, man. Great show, everybody. Love y'all. Bear down. We'll see you Wednesday. Barely There returns. We'll see you Sunday or Thursday night for Bare Minimum. Check these guys out on CSP in about 30 minutes from now, 27 minutes from now. And let's go from there. Thank you, everybody. Love y'all. Brandon just said his phone died. He's out. So we're out too.
Take care.